we're going to move on to our spooktastic main topic. Spooky. Oh. Someone give me your best, what's that dude from Sesame Street that counts? Give me him. The Count Dracula.
One cookie. Two cookie.
Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Beautiful. I love it. Hello, and welcome to a spooky episode 25 of the Thought Patrol podcast. We have reached half a year of content. We've been doing this shit for 6 months already. I don't know how, but thanks to all of you for sticking with us. All three of you. I know there's more of you out there that listen but do not interact, and that is fine. We appreciate all of you that tune in every week. And I am joined by Shawn.
What up?
And Tyler has returned to grace us with his presence.
I returned at the turn of the tide.
Indeed. And this episode, we will be delving into the spookier territories as we get ready for Halloween on Tuesday. Tuesday, right? Yeah, Tuesday. So, this will be a spooktastic episode. We love Halloween around here in the Thought Patrol podcast.
Ah! That was a jump scare for any of you guys that were caught off guard.
Awesome.
Those will be coming in and out randomly throughout the rest of the podcast. Not too much to annoy Kyle, but just enough to know that it's there.
It's like fucking Tourette's for a night.
You got me. Excuse me while I go change my diaper.
All right, cool.
I was just making him rewatch that scene from Made in Abyss again.
Shut the fuck up. I will cut you. I had to leave the room.
Dude,
that was
fucking
not good.
mid-scene, all I hear is just, as he's fucking dry heaving, and then all I hear is, Jesus, hold on a minute, Shawn, and he leaves the fucking room.
Yeah,
For I don't know, 30 seconds, comes back, or he's like, is it over? What happened? Just tell me what happened, because I don't want to fucking watch that shit again.
Yeah, I had to listen in just with one headphone, and even then it was still, it was rough. It was rough. That's all I gotta say. Oh my god, that show broke me for that time that we watched that. That shit was rough. That was really not something you want to see happening to young children. So
it's like out of nowhere. The whole series up until that point in time is like, yay, adventure! And then right about it hits this one point and it just goes fucking hardcore, like, field medic, surgery,
yeah, rough stuff.
Make the noises and everything.
Yeah. Let's not talk about it. Start dry heaving on the podcast. Doesn't sound good. You don't want to dry heave on a podcast. So, how has your guys' lovely week been the last week? Anything interesting going on? Playing any games? Seeing any movies?
I have, as the last you've heard of me before I disappeared for a little while, I moved up to Central Florida, and I was going these past couple weeks through training, and tomorrow's my official first shift as a firefighter. So, yeah,
Fighting
right.
fires.
Lots of stuff, a lot of information, and I mean, God, dude, I could have a whole podcast on that, but no one wants to hear me ramble on, except for maybe Shawn. I know he misses that. But besides that, actually, this is my first time today. I actually just started playing some video games again. I mean, I haven't touched the console, and I mean, the first week I moved up here, I didn't even hook up my Xbox, so it kind of sucked. Like I had a few urges here and there, but I was like, I kind of wanted to play something, but I had no time. So just now getting back into it. To have the theme, since we have our Halloween coming up here on Tuesday, I started to delve into some scary games, and I was playing again a little bit of Alien Isolation, which was a really great game. Kind of came out left field from the Alien franchise. There's been that curse for the past forever.
Yeah, it's like
when was there ever a good Alien game?
It's like the only good Alien game I think exists was Isolation.
exactly, and there was no predators or marines involved. So, yeah.
And the
Other than
only movie that it could copy or draw influence from was the first one, because the
Which was-
combat's always been shit in the other ones.
Yeah, they took out those pulse rifles and the hundreds of aliens, and they made it down, nit and gritty, kind of holy shit, run away from the alien and hide. And
Yeah, you actually had a
Oh, yeah.
reason to fear them. Like
Oh,
they were
man.
actually scary things.
the AI was like different too. It was non-linear, and it kind of learned off of your gaming.
Be
like,
careful
strategies.
if you say linear too many times, you'll summon Caitlyn.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she works like that.
She were like stomping
Say it.
on over here.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
say
she
it 3
loves
times.
linear games. That's right.
Yep.
So no, I'm saying for the AI, the alien itself, the xenomorph was great in finding you, because if you were to hide too much in certain areas, it would stick around longer, and eventually you'll be hiding in like a vent or something, and it'll pull you out, and you don't know it's coming until you just hear like that screeching noise, and it haunts you, man. It's really something. So it was a great game, and I'm looking forward to playing it again. I only put maybe about another hour into it since I started up again, but besides that, I was planning on getting into Outlast also. That was also a fun game to play with you guys. I remember too. I was having some memories with that.
Oh yeah, I remember at Jonathan's house.
Yeah,
We
exactly.
were all chilling there, and we were taking turns playing. Yeah, that's a fun game,
Other than
man.
that,
Too bad
Yeah,
the
oh,
second one was such a piece of garbage.
haven't played it yet, but I plan on
Don't
at some
play
point.
it.
I'm waiting for like a.
Yeah,
oh no,
wait
I'll
till
wait
it's like
for it. I'll wait
$3.
until it's like $5. Yeah,
There you go.
It'll happen pretty quick. So that's that.
What about you, Shawn? How you been doing?
My week has been depressing and sad for the most part, but I have
Cool.
been gearing up. Like, I'm planning on watching like some horror animes tomorrow night.
Okay. There's one that's coming out right
Some good
now
ones.
that is somewhat decent. It feels like it was made 6 years ago, though, the way it's drawn and everything about it. It's called King's Game. And it's like one of those death game kind of shows where people die in gruesome ways. I've only seen a little bit of the first episode, and I couldn't handle it anymore. But from what I understand and what I saw from the PV, it looks like really just gory kind of ridiculousness going on. Ooh. And I don't know, but I haven't seen any more of it. I've just decided to not watch it, but it's coming around perfect time for the spookiness. I just don't know how good it is. What was that?
That was me saying spooky.
Oh, okay, cool.
Well, whenever the word gets said in the podcast, you have to add some emphasis with it.
I got you. What I'll do is I'll just pick one of us at random and change their voice to be like super echoey and deep, like a demon or something like that, and we'll go the whole podcast like that, and it'll sound like shit.
Sounds like fun. Sounds like you have a great time editing.
Yeah, that'd be a pain in the ass. Now I think about it, because the way we record, it would not be easy to do that. Technical shit out of the way. So that's it, Shawn?
Kyle ends up doing is making somebody sound like Mickey Mouse the whole time.
Oh, folks! I'm gonna stick my finger in your butthole. You're gonna scream. Look at that. No editing. No editing.
No
involved,
editing.
Kyle.
Yeah, don't need any editing when I got this
We
talent.
should just have a full podcast like that. Just all
No.
this. Just,
No. It will be titled
It'll be a short one.
the episode to not listen to.
yeah.
Yeah. So, here,
What about you, Kyle?
get a little breathy over there, Tyler. Going ham on the mic. I've been good. Me and Caitlyn and our family went to go see Spirited Away today. It was just today because it's Sunday. And not much more to say than a fantastic film. Really good. Just so much. I really like how Hayao Miyazaki does a very good job of just capturing like the creativeness of a child. It kind of feels like when you see that when you watch one of his films, you could feel like all of this was like concocted in the head of a child almost. And I just enjoy seeing what he creates and the worlds that they build, and just being thrown into that and looking for like the next scene or what's going to happen next. And it shows a lot in Spirited Away, how creative it gets with the different spirits and the bathhouse in general, and just all the stuff that, what's her name? Chihayo. I don't remember. All I know is
Chihiro.
Chihiro. That's what her name is.
Yeah.
I remember that it means like 1,000 wandered something or some shit like that. They had trivia going on before the movie started. They also showed a trailer for the new Marie and the Witch's Flower, which is done by Yonebayashi, which is one of the other directors of Ghibli. And that one looks really cool too. And it looks all awesome and like up to date. It looks really cool. So they show it every time they play a movie. But just awesome film. We saw it dubbed, and the dub wasn't too bad. I thought that Tyler, one more time, what's her name? What?
Chihiro.
I thought that Chihiro's...
Like you're saying churro really weird.
I thought that Chihiro's voice actor was somewhat kind of grinding the way she spoke sometimes, but besides that, it was okay. It wasn't too bad. And I took my father and my mother to go see it. I don't think it was the type of movie my father would enjoy in general, but my mother really liked it. But she's a fan of more like slower, kind of just interesting things. She enjoyed it quite a bit. I talked with her a little bit after, but it was a fun watch and definitely awesome to see it in theater because I have not seen it in theater before. So it's really cool seeing all these Ghibli films in theater on the big screen. Just awesome. The music, man. Every scene had fantastic music in it. Just constantly being barded. Like, I really want to get the soundtrack now. But for those of you that haven't seen it, I definitely recommend it. It came out I think it was in 2001 it came out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is like what it's like to get into a discussion with like a Disney fanboy, where they're like, "Oh, Disney," and every time their mouth opens, it's just Disney-gasm and how off they get from Disney. And then with Kyle, it's like every time he starts to talk about Studio Ghibli, when it's always like it's just the music. It's so good. And the animation,
I can see why the movie itself can be seen. Like, there's not to the story, although it's creative. The world is cool, but the story itself, the tone of the story and how it progresses, it's nothing really that special. It's just kind of presented in a cool way. And I could see why someone can watch this movie and not enjoy it. I could understand that. But I just find that you could tell that there's love put into these films when you see them.
You said your mom said, or you said that she likes slower movies. I mean, I thought that was a pretty slow movie. I mean, there's a lot of pacing, I feel, and then it kind of goes from 0 to 11 really quick, like with the bathhouse and some other scenes. But
most of your Ghibli movies do that.
Yeah, exactly. That's which is why I don't know. Like you said, you talked to her about that, but
yeah, she'll watch anything really. I don't know. I don't know why my dad didn't get into it. But again, I can see why someone would not like this movie, especially since it's technically a children's movie, but they have heavy undertones of things like having to deal with growing up or being pushed into situations that are unfamiliar to you and adjusting and stuff like that. And you can pull a lot from the films. That's why I think they're good for all ages, because depending on what age you watch the movie, you can take something out of it that's different. I don't know. I don't think my dad just took the time to get into watching it. I don't know. I liked it.
Well, a good story doesn't isolate to any age. I mean, you could take something like a Ghibli, not all of Ghibli, because not all their shit's a winner. Some of it's just it's a decent fairy tale, but I can't remember much about Ponyo. I can't remember much about some of them, but most of them, tend to stick out as decent productions because they try and appeal as a human story instead of a kid story or an adult story. I mean, they've got their target, their primary target, which is almost always children, but I think they fall in line with something like Avatar, where they did such a good job balancing the story and putting the exact right things into it that it can be a universal type show. It's not specifically for horror kid movies or any specific genre, but it kind of appeals across the board. That's what Ghibli's
I think anyone can relate to it at certain, they can kind of pick and choose like certain segments.
Yeah.
You can't say that about most Disney films. Most Disney films are entertaining, but they're definitely, you just kind of roll with the dumb parts. That doesn't happen as much with Ghibli, but I think they've got a greater attention to detail, and they're not trying as hard to create a merchandise line.
Yeah, I feel you. And real quick, a little bit more about Spirited Away. We know it was directed by Hayao Miyazaki, who does a good portion of the films released by Ghibli. A little bit of stuff. It was released on 2001 in Japan. It became the most successful film in Japanese history, grossing over $289 million worldwide and receiving widespread critical acclaim. The film worldwide. The film overtook Titanic at the time in the Japanese box office to become the highest-grossing film in Japanese history with a 30.4 billion yen total. It's frequently ranked among the greatest animated films, and it won the Academy Award for Best Animated Best Animated Feature at the 75th Academy Awards, making it the only hand-drawn animated film and Japanese animated film to win Best Animated Film. So, it's won a bunch of other rewards, reaching the double digit, or reaching like 15 to 20. Again, just if you haven't seen it, I recommend
Kyle really likes it. He would like you to watch it.
I recommend that
Kyle
you
really likes
take the time to sit down and watch it. You could find it, and you can even fucking rent it from the library. I've rented it from the library. They had it at my library. I don't know if they'll have it at yours, but there's plenty of ways to see it. It's really good. Definitely, it's something that you could watch with kids too, because it's got that kind of the way that it's put together. So that's that. Besides that, I'm excited for next month. Every time I watch one, I'm excited for next month's movie. Next month we go see Howl's Moving Castle, and that's got me fucking pumped too. So
that's gonna be a really good one, also.
Ooh. So for games, Mario Odyssey came out. I've been playing a lot of Mario Odyssey. That game is fucking fantastic. It is really good. Everything about it is just pristinely put together. I haven't had any moment of that game, which usually holds true for Mario games. I haven't had a single moment that I've been playing it where I wasn't thinking to myself, man, I'm having a shitload of fun. The way the game's put together, it's a gorgeous game. It runs very well on the Switch. I haven't had any issues with any droppage or anything along those lines. Mario's model, like the way they drew him and the way that they gave him a graphical upgrade to the fact that you could see all the hairs on his head, to his mustache, his nose bobbles as he runs, which he's done before. I like the mechanic of Cappy, that the whole hat thing. It's not too overpowering where it's required to do everything, and it's not implemented enough where it doesn't have a purpose. It's put together very well. The same way with Sunshine. This game echoes a lot of what Sunshine did. They introduced a new mechanic, and although in Sunshine it was more upfront with how often you were using the jetpack, but the jetpack wasn't always necessary. The same thing applies to this game. You don't need the hat all the time. There are multiple ways to go about solving a puzzle. I think this is cool because it's not just like 8 stars are connected to an area. You can have upwards of 30 of these moons connected to one area. And so it kind of matches the way the Korok seeds were in Zelda, where you have 900 Korok seeds, except these moons are much more unique, I'd say, in the way you go about acquiring them. The puzzles connected to them are much more interesting, where in Zelda with the Korok seeds, it was like a collection of 10 puzzles that would be scattered around the map. And you do one of these 10 puzzles, you get a Korok seed. Where these moons, I've not come across a moon that was the same as a moon from another world. So they're all unique to that world, and they just, although they're pretty trigger happy about giving out these moons. Like, one of the things to do one of the levels, you had to assemble members for a band, and every time you found a band member, you got a moon. and you just had to walk up and talk to them. So they could get pretty happy with giving out the moons. But besides that, the ones that are connected to puzzles always feel rewarding to acquire. Just an excellent game. The music's awesome, very fitting. Again, this is all stuff we come to expect from Nintendo. Just very quality products that they put out. It's very lengthy. I think I've put about, I have to say, somewhere between 10 and 12 hours just going through the levels. The game messes with me sometimes because I'm a very completist kind of person when it comes to Mario. Every time I hit a world, I always want to get as much as I can done with the world and then move on to the next one. But there are things that make you have to you have to come back later when you acquire this new thing so you can do this. And I'm like, shit. So it forced me to leave a world uncompleted to come back to it later, which isn't terrible. It's still nice because you get a new look on the puzzles of that world once you come back with something new. But I don't want to spoil. There's a really cool level you hit about halfway that has to do with New Donk City, which everyone knows about because it was in the trailers, one that looks like New York. And Mario's like this comically small-ass little man running around, and all the people are like double his size. He's like an eighth of the size of a taxi. He just looks silly running around like New York. But one of those levels is just awesome, and it has to do with the song that they released for the game. It's like Jump Superstar, something like that. That song's awesome as well. Very jazzy. I don't know exactly what it's jazzy. I don't know exactly what to say, but just everything about the game, I've just been enjoying it every second of it. There's a huge amount of nostalgia connected to it, but it feels like a brand new thing. It doesn't feel like we're being shoveled Mario. It feels like they've done enough to change the formula where it feels like a brand new experience with Mario slapped on it. It's awesome, and I love it a lot more than I enjoyed Zelda. Like Zelda, I had a lot of periods of Zelda where I'm like, I'm not really feeling this. But with Mario, every second that I'm playing this game, it's just overflowing joy. It's really crazy. I love it so much. It's so awesome, and I'm so happy that it's finally here. And Nintendo's doing good with the shit that they're releasing. We got Xenoblade around the corner, which I'm also super pumped for. But I don't think you guys haven't played it, right?
No.
Oh man, I definitely recommend it. If you have a Switch, you probably have this game. But I can understand if you don't have a Switch because Nintendo's Nintendo. But definitely pick up this game. I think it might be a little late to be considering it for Game of the Year. I don't know when they start doing those awards, but it's getting like top scores all around the board. It's really awesome. Definitely worth owning a Switch too if you feel like you're on the board of kind of picking one up. This and Zelda, although Zelda I don't enjoy as much, they're both games that definitely warrant owning a Switch if you can't get them any other way, although Zelda's on the Wii U. But still, these games are fantastic games. Really awesome. And at least, although Nintendo loves to piss us off in every other facet of what they do, their games and their products are still top quality. And it's awesome to see that they're still doing so good at completely revitalizing their previous properties. It's amazing. I don't know how the hell they managed to...
Is it amazing, Kyle? Do you really like it?
I don't know how they managed to keep one up.
No.
Do you really like it?
It's good.
He's been going on for
I think the last 20 minutes of him gushing on...
Yeah,
we're going to have to wipe it
guys,
off with a...
0 out of 10.
Spun.
Don't pick it up. Fuck it. I can't believe they did this to Mario.
His pants are just so moist
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah, my
Straight
pants.
up, I
My
know.
pants are moist. But I wish Caitlyn was here with us so she could put her 1-2 into it because she
Enjoy your
played a bit of
moist
it.
pants.
I do. I am sitting in my moistness. That's how you enjoy your moistness. Besides
That's moist appreciation, for sure.
yes. Besides Mario, I'm downloading Wolfenstein 2 right now. As we speak, I'm downloading Wolfenstein, so I haven't got a chance to try it yet, but I've heard it's really good.
Tyler's turn.
What else have I been playing? I've been playing a little bit of Warframe. I tried the Plains of Eidolon update on the PC. So far, it's really cool. I like it. Like a lot of people, I'm sure you heard it before, but this feels like Warframe 2. This update, this open world. The way you go about it, kind of Destiny-esque, where there's public missions kind of hanging around and you go do them. There's like a hunt system where you can go out and hunt bounties and bring them back. It kind of feels somewhat like Monster Hunter 2 because it's all like old tech on this part on Earth. Shawn, we could actually go to it on PS4 if you want to do that one day.
It's open now?
Yeah, well, actually, no. Never mind. That update's not on PlayStation yet. When it comes to PlayStation, though, it's on Earth. It doesn't take long to get to. Like, I played for about an hour, and I got to it on the PC. So, once it pops out, we'll definitely be able to go in there and check it out. It's really fun. I'm enjoying what I've been playing with it. I got the new Warframe Gara, which is like an ice Warframe, or a glass Warframe. So far, it looks like a she or he. They're pretty cool. I like the idea. They seem like they're very like brawler melee heavy, which is cool, and they have some interesting abilities. But I'm thinking we've been playing a lot of Ark. Oh
no,
man,
we've been playing a lot of Ark. You've been coming in every so often and segueing the fuck out as quickly as you can.
Yeah.
I didn't like Ark that much.
I don't. I only play when they're on, and even then, sometimes I'll play for like an hour and quickly get bored with the situation, and then just like AFK but talk to them, and I'll just kind of float around in the world. But we had I had an emotional roller coaster.
Most of the time, don't listen to him.
I had an emotional roller coaster of an experience last night when we were playing because
your porcupines.
No, now my porcupines with Larry.
Oh,
My boy Larry.
Now, Tyler's plotting to try and draw you back into the game by getting a shitload of Larrys.
Bro, you give me another Larry. But the problem is, if you guys tame him, then he won't follow me. He's got to follow me. So I have to be on when we do it.
No, that's not it, dude. You have to program it. Like, I was trying to program the fucking thing when you ran off. I'd go into the menu, and then you'd move with him, and the menu would shut down. Then I'd go into the menu, because I was trying to keep him from attacking whatever attacked us so he wouldn't die. And I couldn't get you to hold the fuck still, so I could go in and program the fucking dinosaur and tell it.
Bro, you could have saved Larry, and you didn't tell me?
Yes. I told you to stop running around, and you're like, fucking saber-toothed cat, and terrified.
That was bad, though.
I was like, all right, fuck it.
If that dude saw us, we would have been dead meat, because he fucked over. Let me explain the situation, right? So me and Shawn are chilling. We're taming a dinosaur. If in Ark, you could tame dinosaurs, and you could use them as like camels, or they could be offensive things, depending on what type of dinosaur you tame. And we're getting close to taming this dinosaur. It's literally our first dinosaur I think we've ever tamed as a group.
Yeah.
And it finally gets up, and I name him Larry. I'm like, come on, Larry. And I'm walking with Larry, and Shawn's he's messing around with the menus, trying to do what he was talking about. And I'm just trying to move Larry away from the beach. And I see in the corner of my eye, there's a dude sitting on a saber-toothed tiger looking at Hector and Tyler, our other two friends, just smacking away at another dinosaur trying to kill it. And I'm like, what's that? And then before I could utter a word, he bolts at him, and he just absolutely fucking annihilates Tyler and Hector. Like in like one hit, they're both dead. I'm like, oh shit, Larry. And I'm trying to get Larry. I'm trying to get Larry to come with me. I'm like, come on, Larry, we gotta go, buddy. Don't look, they're bleeding. And Shawn was there too, and we were both behind a rock. And then that dude just fucked off. I never saw him again. I don't know where the hell he went. So he just basically drive-byed us because he's an asshole. He's on like a level 230 dino and just kills us because it's fun. Whatever, fuck the Ark community. And then he runs away basically. And so I'm like getting Larry. I'm like, come on, Larry, please, we gotta go, bud. And he's like this kind of doofy herbivore, slow ass moving dinosaur. And we get him away, and Tyler and Hector go respawn. And they're somewhere else on the east coast of the map, while we're on the direct opposite. And it's me, Shawn, and Larry trying to survive. And Shawn was going around. Were you trying to tame that turtle-looking dinosaur, Shawn, or are you just trying to get hide off of him?
I was trying to get hide shit off of him.
Yeah, so Shawn's running around attacking this turtle dinosaur, he's beefy. He has a lot of health, and he's like level 55. And I walk up close somewhat, and I'm like, what are you doing, Shawn? And then Larry, he takes the initiative. He sees that there's a problem, and he jumps in. He's right in it. He's raring from the go. He's ready for combat. Larry jumps in, and he starts attacking the turtle. And I'm like, Larry, stop, no. And I'm doing the same thing Shawn was trying to do, trying to get into Larry's menu to turn off his attack. He'll like attack whatever my target is. And I'm trying to put him in neutral, and for some reason he just wasn't. Probably because he was already in the fight. So I couldn't pop him in neutral. And then the turtle dinosaur killed Larry. And
those turtles kill everything. Larry is basically like trying to kill him with a feather. The animal has no fucking offensive
he's
powers.
just like,
it's a runner. It leaves.
Yeah, he's just like fucking. He's like headbutting him and hurting himself more than he's hurting the turtle. And so the turtle kills Larry, and then we eventually kill the turtle, and Shawn's like, oh, now we could get the meat off of him, and I'm like, give it to me, I'll do it. And I go up to Larry, I give him his final meal, even though he's dead, so I just shove like a berry in his mouth.
Just force it down his throat.
And I give a little prayer, and then I proceed to harvest Larry for his materials. And then they eventually went in vain, because then Shawn got attacked by a flying bird later and died.
No, don't forget. I got attacked by the Rex first because Kyle crests this hill.
Wasn't
it's
that
dark
an
out and we can't see anything, and he sees the teeth and the head first as it looks down at him from the gloom, and all I hear is Kyle squeak and go, "It's a Rex!" And I'm like, "What, Dad?"
And I'm like, Shawn, run, Shawn, run, Shawn, run. He's like, what? And he just gets, because it was complete darkness. When it's nighttime in that game, it's fucking dark. It was just complete and utter darkness. I was walking around with the torch, just moving. I hear the footsteps. I'm like, oh, that's probably a big dinosaur. And I look to the left, and it does like Jurassic Park style, where just his front, like the T-Rex's head, slowly illuminates as he's charging at me. And I'm like, fuck. And I'm like, run, Shawn, run. And I'm like sprinting towards the beach. And then Shawn's like, what? And then gets fucking one shot by the T-Rex. And then I proceed to move forward. I walked for quite a distance before I got attacked by bees, or the flying ants that poison you. Yeah, it was just, and that was like the same day where we lost one of our bases. It was a rough day. Enough to the point where Perry just rage quit and left. He's like,
part of it was
to go
the
play
fact
Shadow of War.
We do fine when we're kicking, when we're sticking together, but the moment everybody scatters, shit goes to pot. And Perry's always like, all right, we do things as a group. So anytime I would go off to explore, he would get paranoid that I was just striking off on my own and make me come back to stay around the base. Hector went to another fucking server. He ran around for a while, and he's like, all right, well, fuck this. And he went with his cousin, because his cousin he's like, all right, well, my cousin's cooler than you guys, so peace out.
Is that after I got off?
And he just went to another, he went to a Scorched Earth server, at which, because there was like, I think 20 people on it or something, and I was like, yeah, no. I'm not going to it, and
I thought that was
even
funny
worse layer of hell.
When Hector and Perry were talking to each other, and Hector's like, I've never been attacked here, dude. And then, like, not even 5 minutes later, him and his cousin get fucking annihilated by, I don't know, a dude on something, but it was like upwards of 200 levels above him, just fucking annihilated him. That was like a perfect, like, instant karma moment. Man, the shit that happens in that game is intense. So
it can be super fun. It's just, and I think there's just a balancing issue. You can't. I mean, I accept that we're going to get wiped out a lot. We're going to lose everything a lot. That's why you keep your experience, and it's really not hard to bounce back from that. But I don't know. It's still very difficult. I think we're going to be suckers for a long time until we get higher tech.
The problem I have
it's going to be different.
The reason that I get to the way I get when I play for long periods of time is that there's a common goal. Like, usually you're working towards increasing your tech, but the fact that it takes so long to get there, and there's a lot of gathering involved and stuff like that, it gets to the point where I'm like, man, this is going to take forever. In my head, this is me telling me, I know it doesn't actually take that long, but in my head, I've already, like, signed off because I'm like, shit, it's going to take a while. And the more people you have, the faster it goes. But it's just the fact that, like, everything weighs you down, and you got to make multiple trips to do stuff, and then it's just all that on top of that. And I like to carry stuff on me, so if something breaks, I can make it. And I'm trying to find that golden ratio of stuff to carry to repairing, so I don't have to worry about it. But I always end up carrying too much shit, so I'm always like 70% encumbered, like, all the time. And if I ever try to pick up anything, just instantly. But yeah, like, because there's a lot of progress you have to make in that game as you're increasing your tech. and it just slowly compounds upon itself. So you're having more resources that have to be spent doing different things all the time. Like once we get to that where we need cementing paste all the time, that's going to be fucking fun trying to make guns and bullets and all that shit, because it's going to take just so long to get to that. So, but then
at that point in time, we're supposed to have dinos that help us get resources.
I think that's one of our bigger problems too, is the first dino we ever tamed when we playing the game for that long, that I think there's something wrong with that. So
I think we're coming from a Minecraft mindset where we're so used to just foraging and building and shit that's the easy part to do.
Every time we play that game, I want to play Minecraft. We haven't played it in a while, and it's just
a long time.
I know Hector doesn't have it. So, yeah. And every time we get on that game, I get like almost sick because I have to look at it, and it's got like this really grainy filter over it, and it just, I don't know.
You can turn that off.
Can I? Because it looks fucking absolutely disgusting.
Yeah. Tyler found a way to turn it off. It's the motion blur that does it.
Good, because I don't really like motion blur in general. I think it's nasty. I don't know why they put it on games all the time. So yeah, that's been our adventures in Ark. It's been an adventure. Yeah, like they've played a lot more than I have. Like all Saturday you guys are playing, and what was I doing on Saturday? Saturday was a weird day because I got home from work and I couldn't go to sleep, so I stayed up a bit, probably till about 1, and then I passed out because I was just too tired at that point. And then I woke up at like 7, and then I ate dinner and I got on to play with you guys. And then even at that point, I was still tired. I need to stop doing that because that's really not good. That's like being up for like somewhere around like 30 something hours, and that's gonna catch up with me and bite me in my ass one day. So yeah,
damn, yeah.
No, it's not good.
I think it's getting better. They've done a lot of balancing in the game. I don't think that there's much more that they can do to fix it. They stopped the offline griefing. And to a point, after Hector wigged out and left with his cousin to go learn how to tame and have fun in the place that only he and his cousin enjoy playing in, and the rest of us stuck around there. I mean, Perry was offline, you were offline, Tyler made a go of it and went to Scorched Earth, then remembered, oh shit, it sucks here. And today he came back to Ragnarok, and he's like, yeah, I totally forgot that's where Hector was going, because fuck that noise. And then he and I have been doing fine. We played for a few hours today. I resurrected one of Perry's failed bases. I've been raided twice. They killed me. They took my food. One guy killed me. He took my food because I left the door open. That was my fault. And they broke both fire pits. And then the second guy jumped over because I hadn't finished building the walls up yet. So he jumped over a portion of the house off of a nearby like mountain or something, and landed in the house, and then he poisoned me and killed me, and he raided me, and all he took was my food and the gear I had on me, and he emptied a few of the chests, and then he was gone.
Yeah,
neither of them destroyed the house. Neither of them. I mean, the one guy destroyed the fire pits, but he didn't try and destroy all of the containers and shit.
They're just by themselves, though, right? They didn't have any dinosaurs.
Yeah, they were solo.
Yeah, there's only so much
you can do.
The thing
is, yeah, but you can go in and destroy other people's gear and wreck their house while you're there, and they opted not to do that. They just came in, took what they wanted, and left. I'm okay with that. I'm totally okay with that. They didn't set me back a lot. I was fine. I respawned. The one guy killed me twice because he finally figured out how to get up to the second story because it's kind of tricky. And killed me there. But again, he didn't even take anything. He just killed me and said, fuck it, and he fucked off and peaced out, and he was gone. So I'm okay with. That game is all about impermanence. When we get higher, and I think Tyler's right, as much as I hate it, we do need to start working with more people. It's going to be harder with a small group like this. But I do have fun with it. It's something where, like Warframe, I play it for a while and then leave, and then come back and play it for a while and leave.
Yeah. So, I'm glad that you both could join me for today. Again, in episode 25, our spooktastic episode. Yes.
I'm terribly spooky so far. So what are we doing? Are we talking about horror games, horror animes, horror movies?
Yeah. Everything.
This is my spot. That's my joint, dude. I am a horror fan.
We will get there. But we're going to get through the rest of the podcast real quick.
Keep in your pants right now, Shawn.
No, I refuse to keep my pants on, especially around you two.
Oh,
I like that.
I have
That's
my
nice.
standards.
I'm flattered.
Yeah. Well, that's my secret,
That's
Captain. I'm always flattered. So, moving on to our housekeeping section. As always,
Housekeeping.
let's get through it real
One
quick.
mint for pillow.
Yes, we have
One suck cock.
we have our Discord. If you all want to come by and hang out with the hosts and the other people in the community that are in the Discord, you can come by and say hi. We also have, if you have anything you'd like to talk about that we discuss on this episode, maybe your top horror things, because we'll get into that, or anything along the lines with the news, feel free to leave a comment below. Discuss with us what you guys think about the content of this podcast. Also, if you enjoy what you hear, our beautiful voices, go ahead and hit subscribe to get more of our content every week. We also have a YouTube channel, which is our home base. You can come by, check the other content on there. We also have a Twitter. You can get updates from the podcast, from the channel, or if we decide to do anything special in the future. And finally, if you guys really like us and you want it read on the podcast, you can leave an iTunes review. Any star that you feel is proper, just give us some proper feedback. We'd like to hear from you guys.
Kyle wants to hear about how much you love Studio Ghibli.
Yes, especially that. Yeah. So, moving on, I feel like we didn't get a proper start to our Urban Riptionary section, so we're going to bring it back this week. Also, I was gone all day today, so we didn't get a chance to write a skit. So, I have another word for you two to try and figure out what the fuck it is, but I could not provide the sentence because it would give away too much. So I'm just going to give you guys the word. Also, you guys out there that are listening, let us know what you think that this word might be. And it this week is tunnel buddies.
Two guys penetrating the same asshole?
No. Now, listen. We're trying to keep this in a 20-question format. I don't want you just throwing out guesses, but we're not doing 20 questions.
Does it have to do with assholes?
He's stalling. That means it.
No, I don't know. I don't know exactly. It can do with assholes, I guess. That's a possibility. All right, your turn, Tyler. What you got? That's one question. Tunnel buddies.
If I were to think what tunnel buddies are, I think it's two guys going into
ask a
the
fucking
same
question. Ask a fucking question.
No. Okay. Oh, I had such a great thing.
We're talking right here, Kyle. We are brainstorming.
Well, I'm thinking in my head. I'm thinking.
Brainstorm.
Okay, so Shawn. All right. So Shawn, I'm thinking it's two guys sharing the same asshole of a woman.
Well, that's kind of like the same place I was going with it.
Yeah. So we're on the same page here, pretty much.
Okay. So give me another question. Narrow it down.
Okay. So let's see. Does it have to do with? Is it pornographic?
It is indeed pornographic.
Okay.
What about you, Shawn?
Does it have to do with penetration?
There is penetration involved. Come on. No black. No, we don't need any dead air.
Okay.
You know, Tyler, seriously, it almost sounds like a new version of that old saying. The one where, like...
My alarm's going off.
Like, what? You know, like when you bang the same chick to somebody else or something like that? Maybe it's like something like that. There was a term that was way better than tunnel buddies, but I don't know if it's tunnel buddies, but it sounds like one of those things. Like if you're buddies, and he kind of hemmed and hawed about the butt sex thing. I don't know. I mean, it could be one of those. What the fuck was it called? Something Brothers or something like that. When you slept with the same person. Maybe it's something like that. I don't know.
Why don't you narrow it down? You have questions. Ask a question.
Like the thing is, like, it's just.
Okay. All right. Does it involve more than one dude?
It does indeed. There is more than one.
Does it involve the same girl?
It does indeed.
Does it involve both of their penises touching?
No, it does not involve penises touching. That's the 6th question. There's no penis touching going on.
Remember that term.
I mean, I guess if you think about it hard enough, penises touch, but if you were to go with that logic, then penises are touching all the time. So I don't know if that's fathomable
All the
here.
time.
Yes, your penis is always touching another dude's penis in one way or another. If you think about it hard enough, we all share a cosmic penis touch. So, all right, that's 6 questions.
Bro. I ain't gay. I ain't touching no man's dick.
Yeah, no, that's like an Eskimo brother, right? Tunnel Buddies is like Eskimo brother. Come on now.
I don't know what an Eskimo brother is. Ask.
It's if you had sex with the same chick.
Well, ask a question.
If I banged a girl, and then 3 months later, Tyler banged her too, we would be Eskimo brothers.
Yep. And probably
Is it like that?
Yeah, that's that. That's what a tunnel buddy is.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
That was good enough. That was good enough.
Yeah. So just another word for it then. All right.
Eskimo brothers before.
That only took 6 questions. So yeah, tunnel buddies. Let me give you the exact definition. I lost it. Oh jeez. 1 second. I don't know why I got rid of the tab. Urban Dictionary. Wow, there's more than this than I thought. Okay. Tunnel buddies is when guys have slept with the same girl on different occasions. In a sentence, we have, "Are you serious? You slept with Sarah too? You know that makes you and Frankie tunnel buddies."
I wonder, I guess it would be the same for girls too, wouldn't it? Well,
Yeah.
no, it wouldn't be tunnel buddies. It would be more like rod sisters or something.
Yeah.
Another description by our good boy T. Pity is a friend who has smashed the same wizard sleeve as you.
Oh, God.
That is genius.
Oh, man. Seeing if we have any other
Wizard
interesting...
sleeve?
Yeah, I'm seeing if we have any other interesting... Oh, man. There's another tunnel buddy. We have when 2 gay men share a chronic addiction to anal fornication. Habituation of anal sex will eventually scar one's anus, marking one as a permanent tunnel buddy.
Nice.
And the sentence is, I'm not going to say exactly all of it, but it's
Oh, that's heinous.
it's oi, and he says the other word for
Oi.
gay. I heard you were officially labeled as a tunnel buddy by Anderson Cooper. Why Anderson Cooper? So yeah.
Anderson Cooper's gay.
Yeah. Oh, here we have another tunnel buddies when 2 men shit into the same girl's mouth whilst.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. No.
Whilst- Wait. Let me finish the definition. I should have picked this one.
No need. There's no need.
No. Okay, listen. 2 men shit into the same girl's mouth whilst howling like dogs at the same time. That's from Holy Worm 666. I'm gonna give that a thumbs up. That's what he deserves.
Oh, my God.
So, I should have picked that one. I need to go down and look through all these in the future. So that one would have been hard as fuck for you guys to get. Damn, okay. We're still learning. But that was our segment of Urban Riptionary for this week. So you guys win again.
You have to understand, like, the Urban Dictionary got its start with Dirty Sanchez, and it was all word of mouth. And I was deep in that scene when all that shit started, where we were coming up with names for ridiculous things.
Yeah.
So I'm on top of it. I welcome the challenge.
An Alaskan fire dragon. That's Jonathan coined that.
I love that one, dude. That's high school right there.
Yeah, it is, dude.
High school days. I remember that. That was when you go and so if you she's giving you like a blowjob, right? And you like keep it in your mouth and you say something like, "Oh, I have HIV or AIDS" or something like that as you're about to come, and then you make her make a gag reflex so the cum goes through her nose, right? That's what that is. Well, I'm pretty sure I was spot on with that. That's one of those things that I will never forget.
Oh man,
That's a horrible fucking thing to do to somebody.
it is. That is really fucked up. But can you? Really
There's like another one.
Can you get HIV from swallowing cum?
Yeah,
No.
anytime
You
it
say
touches tissue.
Oh,
When the semen gets in the mouth,
I guess it
tissue,
will
they're
digest
no different than the vaginal tissues, man. It gets absorbed into the tissues.
And you also will digest it in your stomach too. So.
Yeah, but it would have been absorbed before it gets to your fucking tummy.
Damn. That's a fucked up thing to do then. Damn it, Tyler. Made this all depressing now. All right.
That was amazing.
So yeah, that was Tunnel Buddies. Tell your friends. Moving on to our box office tops. We have the top 5 movies from the last week. At number 1, we have Jigsaw, making $16 million over the weekend, with a budget of only $10 million. So,
This is
see
what's
what that
wrong
says.
with our fucking world. The fact that they keep making Saw movies.
And at number 2, we have Tyler Perry's Boo 2, A Medea Halloween, making $10 million
Oh my god.
making $10 million, sitting at $35 million total with a budget of $25 million. At number 3, we have Geostorm, sitting at $5 million. Oh, excuse me.
Why they make another one of those movies?
Grossing $23 million in total, sitting at a budget of $120 million. Jesus Christ.
What makes me wonder is what the fuck happened to Gerard Butler? He went from doing like really good movies all the time to doing hot garbage.
Yeah, he's still making money, but that's how you know you've washed up. At number 4, we have Happy Death Day, sitting at $5 million, grossing $48 million total, sitting at a budget of $4.8 million. And at number 5, we have Blade Runner, grabbing $4 million for the weekend, sitting at $81 million total, with a budget of $150 million. So, those are our top 5. What were you going to say, Tyler, about Happy Death Day?
I said that movie looked interesting.
Yeah, I actually saw it. I talked about it a little bit earlier on a previous podcast episode, but it was a fun watch. I could say that at least. It was more comedic in the way that it was presented than an actual horror film, which I think was a good choice because I think it would have been a shitty horror movie, and that was actually my anticipation going into it being a shitty horror movie. But it's a pretty fun mystery killer kind of thing. Nothing too deep, just something fun to watch with friends. I would not go see it in theaters. Maybe when it comes out on DVD, though, check it out. So yeah, that's it. Not much going on really in movies. I heard
Blade Runner should have been above all of that.
Well, yeah.
It should have been beyond all of that. That is pathetic.
So, yeah, we've discussed our thoughts about the whole sci-fi situation. So, we don't have anything for the review corner. I was thinking about doing something, but nah. So we're gonna move on to our movie.
We gotta finish Made in This so we can review that.
Yeah, we do. I want to finish it with Caitlyn too, so I could talk with. She could be a part of the conversation, but we just need to set up a day where we could just sit down and watch all of it. So we're gonna move on to our news segment. Not just a little bit of stuff. Not much huge has happened over the last week. At least stuff that I found. So next week, guys, we have the Paris, the PSN Paris thing is going on. The Games Week at Paris. And I have an article that we're going to read a little bit over real quick. I'm going to go over the article pretty quickly. And this is Eddie Makic of GameSpot. We're back to the actually reading out what's going back. And you guys will quickly learn how much we rely on GameSpot. So, we have Sony's announcing 7 games next week. Apparently, at the Paris Games Week on Monday, October 30th, Sony will include 7 all-new game announcements. This covers both PlayStation 4 and PlayStation VR games. These announcements will start coming in during Sony's pre-show event, kicking off at 8 a.m. Pacific time on October 30th, which will probably be when this comes out. So you guys will be able to hopefully see it. I don't know. It depends. I'll probably get it out. No, it'll be after. Whatever. So you guys might know about this by the time this comes out. It doesn't matter. Then at 9 a.m. Pacific time, when the show begins in earnest, Sony will give you an exclusive new look at the next wave of huge PlayStation titles. And after the event ends, Sony post-show stream will dive deeper into the reveals. So this is all to say, Monday sounds like it's going to be a busy day. It's going to be a wild day. Sony's Sid Schumann, what a name. The blog post goes on to say that E3 was only half the story. Some of Sony's E3 announcements this year included the Shadow of Colossus remake, a 2018 date for the new God of War, and the first look at Call of Duty World War II's multiplayer. Sony's Paris Games Week briefing will be streamed live basically everywhere. So,
we need another Jack and Daxter. What the fuck are they doing?
That would be really cool, or at least a remake of a bunch of all of them. But, man, that would be awesome. Holy shit. I don't know. They might need a pull for those types of games again, though. Because I don't know. They might be kind of wary of how much of the reception, besides like nostalgia of the reception of the community about it. I wonder how well Ratchet and Clank, the reboot for that, did. Like,
well, the game did
commercially.
Awesome.
I know it was critically acclaimed, but I wonder how commercially well it did. So we'll probably see Last of Us, hopefully. Maybe some more Spider-Man. I'm definitely hyped to see some of that. Maybe some more of that other game, the other zombie game that they showed off at E3. What was that shit called? The one where they showed, like... Shawn, did you see that? Where they showed, like, the whole thing was showing...
Yeah, it's the one they've been hyping for, like, a year.
What is that called?
Or two.
I don't remember what it's called.
I don't remember.
Yeah, but they were like showing off how they were utilizing the zombies as like a tool and stuff like that. That was cool. So super excited to see, because we know PlayStation's been kicking ass with these exclusives, and I'm really excited to see what they have coming around the bend. And it's also nice to see that they're still supporting PlayStation VR, which is cool. So they're really trying to get it into something more commercially available, that there's more support for the VR, and hopefully more full-blown experiences, like full games, because a lot of the stuff we have is either small indie titles. I think the only like really full-blown, like really proper experience that they have is Resident Evil 7, which is an awesome experience in VR. It definitely increases the scare factor of that game, but I want to see more like full-on things coming to VR. That'd be awesome. So, definitely excited. We also have, what's it called? PlayStation Experiences coming in December, too, which they usually hold stuff for as well. So, I'm certain PlayStation's got a shitload of stuff under their belt moving forward into the next year. Besides that, we have new Destiny 2 Endgame changes the gear outlined. Or changes and gear outline. This is Chris Pereira of GameSpot. We know recently that following TwitchCon, there was a panel that Bungie outlined how the seasons in Destiny 2 will work, but Bungie has now provided another overview of the changes coming to the game. It has also provided a peek at some of the new gear rewards on the way. Alongside a preview of next week's Destiny 2 patch, Bungie also provided a high-level outline of the areas it's looking to improve. The studio has handed the game off from its main development team to the live team, which, as was the case with the first Destiny, is responsible for sustaining the game post-launch. That includes the introduction of private Crucible matches, improved rewards for prestige activities, and changes to mods. In a post on Bungie's website, Destiny 2 game director Christopher Barrett stated, quote, "We've been playing the game in the wild for 7 weeks. And like the Destiny experiences that have come before, we're always thinking about where the game is heading next. We're still planning when a bunch of the improvements listed below are going to make their way into the game, but we wanted to let you know what we're up to." The note was accompanied by the following list that highlights what Bungie is focusing on moving forward. We have new system and rewards to give our most engaged players additional optional pursuits, better incentives for players who complete challenging prestige activities, better rewards and replay value for strikes, adventures, and lost sectors, private matches for the competitive community, targeting early 2018, Crucible tuning, like adjusting supremacy scoring and better spawning rules, better incentives for completing Crucible matches and penalties for quitting competitive games, continued improvements to Iron Banner and faction rallies, including uniqueness of the rewards, changes to make the mod community or economy more interesting and impactful, ongoing improvements to exotics, including adjustments to reduce instances of duplication, which we all have plenty of experience in, new ways to spend surplus currency and materials, looking at you, legendary shards, an emote interface that allows players to equip salty, spicy ramen, 6-shooter, and flip out all at the same time, and outside of outside of private matches, no timetable for any of this was shared. Next week's update will deal with fixing bugs rather than introducing new combat. We know that in addition to return of Iron Banner and faction rallies, the Dawning will make its return from Destiny 1. However, there won't be a Halloween event, as Festival of the Lost won't appear until at least next year. So that's interesting. Again, we've heard a bunch of people talking about Destiny 2 now that it's been out for a while, about the improvements and steps back that they've taken to the game and the way that the end game plays, which is probably the worst part of Destiny 2 right now. Getting there is good. The campaign's fun. Actually getting interesting gear early on before everything, you start to see that everything's just a repeat. I want to see a couple of things moving forward. I want to see changes to weapons where they're not all just copies of the same set of perks. That'd be cool. It doesn't have to necessarily be random like in the first game, but maybe like a set of 3 loadouts that a gun can drop as, and you could get one of those 3 loadouts or something along those lines that makes the guns feel like you feel more special for having a certain gun. Definitely liking to see the reducing instances of duplication with exotics. That's awesome. It's nice to see that they're looking at something to do with legendary shards, because I have like the max number and there's just nothing to fucking do with them. You just keep getting them and you can't really spend the amount that you accrue. But this is all definitely welcome improvements moving forward. I want to see big changes to endgame. Because right now, like they said, we have no incentive to go back. Once you hit max level, there's really no reason to go. You can go and collect guns, but there's nothing special about doing so because they all kind of fall into the same like couple of loadouts. The perks aren't really anything special. I want to see what they do with the modding system too, because the modding system right now is really bare bones. You either get a +5 or like slight increases to resilience, which you can't even feel in game most of the time. So it's definitely interesting moving forward what they do with the game. And it's nice to see that they're paying attention to the community and moving forward. And I think Destiny's has done a good job of listening to feedback from the community. Although it might take a while sometimes to implement the changes, they do eventually come. So it's looking that hopefully these come fast enough before they lose all of their community, because like we talked about last week, they've already lost like 60% of their players. Like 2 million something players have stopped coming every week to do stuff. So it's crazy seeing that type of drop. And I like this game. I want it to stay because I know that we all, although we don't adore it, it's something that we're all willing to do with each other. And I like that we get to make those experiences as a group, and I don't want to lose that. So I hope that they revitalize this community and bring people back and stuff like that. I will be playing the Dawning. I like the armor that they have this Dawning event. And finally, a little bit more is, since we all know that Destiny 2 came to PC in the last week, and people have been playing that, I've heard a lot about the game being like, this is like the ultimate way to play this game. We all know that the gunplay in Destiny is fantastic, some of the best that exists on the market, and with mouse and keyboard and uncapped frame rates, it just accelerates just how good the system in play that Bungie has for Destiny is. And people are saying like, this is the ultimate way to play this game. It's fantastic on PC. It's really good. I haven't tested it. I haven't tried it. I'm really holding back because I don't want to have 2 copies of this game and have to support 2 copies, because we're going to have DLC. We're going to have all this shit coming out, and I don't want to be spending that much money on just Destiny. So I'm trying to stay away. But it is very tempting, especially since I know that I can play it and know that I can enjoy it at higher frame rates and looking gorgeous. Because Destiny 2 is a pretty game, and to see it at a higher resolution running at 60 frames is quite a tempting piece of cheesecake. So, but I'm trying to stay away from it for now. Also, with the fact of it coming to PC, is we've been seeing people data mining the game, and people have been finding certain things. There may be a 4th element coming, so a whole new elemental damage in the game might be on the way. People have been discussing different things. Some people have been saying ice. I've heard people saying not what's it called? What's it called? Like the Hive, they have like their poison, Shawn.
Yep.
People are saying that might be the 4th element, like this like blight or poison or something like that. So that'd be interesting. And with that, that means we'll have new supers hopefully too, and that'd be cool because the supers aren't as revolutionary as they could be, and it'd be nice to see more. They pulled the same thing in the first Destiny where we only had 2, and then they added a third one. So if they're doing 3 and adding a 4th one, that'd be cool to see in a future DLC. But you could also, I saw a video of someone walking up to Ikora, and she was discussing, she had voice lines talking about a 4th element that was unknown or something along those lines. So it is possible that we might be seeing something like this moving forward. But it's also just as possible that it could have been something that was scrapped from earlier on in progress, because with all this data mining, people have found a bunch of files for like the prison of elders and shit like that. But Destiny has already, or I don't know who it was, someone from Destiny confirmed that was just leftover code from Destiny 1. So we don't know exactly how much will be returning or what's going on. People have also said that there's a possibility that we might have 8 areas by the end of Destiny 2 to explore, but none of this is confirmed. They really need
to do more to differentiate the lookalikes. Like Io and Nessus look way too much like previous Destiny 1 locations. They really need to do more. Maybe tune the color differentiation or something. I don't know, but they got to do something, because I'm like, I don't know. It's a little frustrating.
I want to see what
the Io and Nessus look like they took Venus and just split it in 2 locations.
I feel you. I want to see what Mercury looks like too, and see if that looks unique with the new DLC, which I think is coming December. So, but
Mercury's frozen in real life, isn't it? It's just a big ball of ice.
Yeah. So I don't know. It'd be interesting. I don't think we've gotten like a proper snow level, like just straight up snow. So that'd be a nice thing to see in Destiny 2, especially since Destiny 2 is so pretty. But
is Mercury? No, I thought isn't Mercury one of the inner planets?
I still think
it was an outer one.
Let me see. Oh, fact check.
I'm pretty sure. I'm gonna guess and say it's like the second.
Let's see how cold Mercury is. Not Mercury.
No, Mercury's the one right next to the sun. Mercury got destroyed, didn't it?
I don't know. Mercury is the smallest and innermost planet in the solar system. Oh,
boom!
Yeah, they used it as fuel.
Physical characteristics. Oh man, look at all this shit.
How are they going to have it when it was destroyed for fuel for that sun crusher?
Didn't we play a level on Mercury? Because it wasn't entirely destroyed. It would never, because there are areas of it that are still active. Like, because there's a PvP map on it, and there's also the campaign map that's on it. So that's the one where you take damage if you're within direct sunlight. So that'd be an interesting place if they work that whole mechanic into it well, and it's not annoying. That'd be interesting to be running around a planet that you're constantly on the side of the sun, and you take damage for being out in the open. I don't know how the hell they'll do it, but that'd be probably the most. Because a lot of the public places, they just look cool and you walk around. There's no like overwhelming like thing that you do that interacts with the chemistry of the planet. So we'll have to see. But yeah, that was the place that they were. I don't think they actually did. I think they were threatening to destroy it, or was that the sun? I think they were threatening to blow up the sun in the campaign.
Yeah, but they were chewing up bits of Mercury and using it as fuel.
Maybe that thing's still there, and we might be able to explore that in the patrol too. That'd be cool. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. So that's some more Destiny news. If you've listened to this before, you know that we are not big fans, but we enjoy Destiny. So I want to see Destiny do well, because I enjoy playing Destiny, especially with everyone else. So next couple things are just some smaller articles I'm going to go through. There's a new Amazon service that delivers packages to your home, apparently. It is called Amazon Key. And yeah. And basically, the way this thing works is you buy a bundle on Amazon. It comes with an Amazon Nest. I think it's a Nest, which is a Amazon camera, and a lock that goes on your door. And basically, when the person that comes to deliver your package, yeah.
By the way.
Oh well, it's an Amazon.
The camera is, it's an Amazon camera, and then you buy the Amazon Smart Lock.
Yeah, it's a bundle that costs like $250. And you install it, and what happens is when a courier comes to your door, they can literally open your door, and they can drop the package in your house.
On the inside of the door, yeah. They're
Yeah.
not supposed to come inside. They're supposed to open it, put the package down, shut the
and
door,
then leave. And then the
and
camera,
the lock's supposed to close.
yeah, the camera just watches the door to make sure that that employee doesn't do something stupid and go in the house and steal shit or whatever. So, I mean, I've never had an issue with a package arriving and promptly being damaged or stolen. And even when that happens, they'll be quick to, you could just file whatever, tell them, hey, this package either never arrived or was damaged, and they'll send you another one free of charge. So but I've never had an issue with it. So I personally would not be investing in something like this, especially with the fact that you're giving someone access to the inside of your home. That's weird. And even like if you have a pet or something, that could become an issue.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't even imagine how many dogs will take the moment that door's open, they're out. Because animals are very attentive. They could hear from farther distances. So a lot of the times, the moment someone's walking up to the door, my Bruce, our dog, he's right fucking there. He's at the door and he's ready to pounce whoever walks in a loving way. Like, hey, I'm gonna lick you until I piss you off and you tell me to go away. And so I can see a lot of animals trying to get the fuck out of the door the moment it opens, especially ones that are less ruly. So that could be a problem too. But I don't know. I don't know how well this will do. It'd be interesting to see how many people actually buy this thing, especially for $250. Just to have people drop a package inside your house. I use Amazon a lot. I use it for I pre-order games on it, so those come in the mail. If we ever have stuff that my parents need to buy, books, medicine, or something along those lines. Even sometimes groceries.
That's right.
What happened?
I'd rather install a drop box. You know,
Oh, yeah,
like
definitely.
have a drawer, a large drawer that you can open up, put the package in, close the drawer. You can put the smart lock on that, no problem.
Yeah.
But not on a fucking door. That's just stupid.
That's weird. I mean, I know they're all about making it as like easy as possible to get a product. That's Amazon's like forte, but this might be taking a step too far. So moving on to the next article, we have Nintendo Switch's Shin Megami Tensei 5 has been revealed in a new trailer.
Whoop, whoop.
So we do have a new trailer.
That will be when I buy a Switch.
We do not have a release date yet, unfortunately, but they promised at Tokyo Game Show, which happened a couple weeks ago, almost a month ago, I think, actually, that we will be getting soon a Shin Megami Tensei 5 trailer, and it did drop. I think it was on the 23rd that it dropped, and so we know that it's coming. It looks awesome. The trailer looks badass. Super fucking excited, and I'm just like so giddy that we just received Persona 5 and now we got Shin Megami Tensei 5. It's just so awesome. So, and
Have you played Shin Megami Tensei before?
I've played Devil Survivor. Was
It's
that the
a
one?
spin-off like Persona, though.
Was that the one that was
Devil
on?
Survivor.
Was that the one that was on the
What?
DS?
They had
So I
two
played-
of them on the DS.
I played
think.
one on there was one on a PlayStation emulator, and then one was on DS. I played two Shin Megami Tensei games. I don't remember what the other one was called though, but I like the Shin. I like that, and this trailer shows it's as Shin Megami Tensei usually is. It's a darker storyline where Persona usually follows something that's not. Although Persona can get dark and usually deals with some pretty heavy undertones, it's not as dark. You're kind of like, oh, high school student kind of stuff. Shin Megami Tensei is just like end of the world destruction, like holy shit, people can die at any second kind of stuff. So that's exciting, and I'm so gung ho for this. Especially, I'm not entirely sure, but I'm under the assumption that it's going to be a Switch exclusive, which is cool. So definitely just pumped, super excited for this.
Why would they do that? That I don't understand. That's severely, especially considering a niche thing like Shin Megami Tensei, and I get why Persona would release on Sony or Sony and Xbox. That makes sense.
Persona wasn't on Xbox.
Well, I'm just saying you have a wider install base, but as popular as Switches are, it's a smaller install base, and it's still the predominant. The people who have Switches, the largest majority right now is like older children, like preteen and teenagers are the ones that have Switches. You know, you've got a small portion of adults and a small portion of young kids. The young kids are still on the Wii U's for the most part, but the biggest install base is like the 10 to 18 range. So Shin Megami Tensei is aimed at like 18 and up. Yeah. So is the Devil Survivor and the other Devil. I don't remember the other Devil one, but almost all of them, because they're all dark. But the Persona series is aimed at teen and higher, if I remember correctly. Right? It's T-rated.
No, Persona 5 was M.
Was it M? Okay, so yeah, I mean,
I think Persona 4 was M too.
I played all of them, and they're all mature in different ways. But Persona always has high school characters as the main characters, and Devil Survivor had adults or young adults as main characters, and Shin Megami Tensei oftentimes will have an inhuman as you're a half demon or you're a demon. The age of the characters is much less important in the Shin Megami Tensei series, and oftentimes your character doesn't really have a personality. Everyone around them does. You just kind of decide the kind of person you are by the choices you make. Like Fallout and shit.
Yeah, Persona 4 was M2, just to let you know. So
yeah, you're right. You're right. It's just I think it's not so much that one's more lighthearted than the other. It's just the attitudes of the characters that it focuses on. But is more than because Devil Survivor is a very different ongoing, story world than Persona is, and then Shin Megami Tensei, and what's the other one? Last Bible, I believe, is the other. I think there's 4 or 5 universes within the mythology that take place inside the Shin Megami Tensei world outside of the main game, and they're all different. Like the Devil Survivor thing is an ongoing war. Persona you're already familiar with. Shin Megami Tensei, it depends. Like the Earth's been destroyed twice. I mean, essentially more like getting erased and flipped into hell, but still, like it's a very different. It's got a much grander scale. The personas are always concentrated in the location you're in
all the time. Yeah. I think Nintendo has come out and openly said, even though a lot of their titles are targeted towards a mass audience, like, hey, you could play as an adult and a kid, that they've come out and openly said, hey, we're trying to focus on more mature titles coming to like our brand, so we're not just looked at as kiddie console, that people can also see Nintendo and see, oh, there's also some more mature titles on Nintendo. So that might be one of their attempts at that, and I don't know, they might have gave Atlas a decent, hey, go exclusive, we'll pay you a certain amount of money, and they just took the loss there to get more mature titles on the Switch. So we'll see what happens.
They've been favoring Nintendo for a while with the handheld consoles, because the 3DS is getting all of the...
Yeah, and I need to buy I need to buy a 2DS now, because Persona Q2 is coming to the 2DS in like February.
Is it good? Is it that good to buy a whole new system over?
I mean, if I bought a Switch just to play Zelda, yeah, and 2DS is only $150.
You did not buy it just for Zelda. You bought that shit for Mario too.
Well, I didn't even at that point. I guess I didn't know about Mario at that point. Yeah,
we were talking about it because that was the only thing I was looking forward to.
It was a future investment, I could say, but I don't know, because I really want to play, because I like the first Q a lot because of the way it was. I need to see what Q2 looks like. Maybe not if they continue with the chibi look, although I like the chibi look. I don't know. I might just watch it. I say that now, but I might just go ahead and in the future watch a Let's Play or something about it. So, moving on, we got a couple little just small things that happened over the last week. We have Bungie bans around 400 players for in-game overlay software. So, as we talked about before, we had Destiny 2 come to the PC, and we talked earlier that Bungie stated that they did not want people on PC with programs running that have anything with in-game overlays, because what that does is the program is injecting code into the software, and that opens the door for hacking. And they're just trying to damage control. They want the release to go well, But we are seeing they've had, like I said, around 400 people have been completely banned, even to the point that I've seen where people won't even get past the menu screen because they'll have like Discord or OBS open, and it'll get banned almost instantly.
Streamers are having a lot of problems with it.
And
a lot of innocent people got banned.
Yeah, it's a rough spot because I could see why Bungie wouldn't want hacking in their game, but I could also see that people that stream and make content for your game are promoting it at the same time. So it's a rough spot because then it could also, in turn, those people that are promoting your game, if they run into hackers, then hey, you have a negative press. Or people can get banned, and then hey, you have negative press that way. So it's a rough spot for Bungie, and this is like their first kind of. They've made PC games before, but this is their first PC release for Destiny, which is like something that's kind of like its own genre, a mix of different things. So they hopefully they get this shit kind of solved because it's rough. I don't know how you would go about letting just OBS work. I don't know, because it makes sense. If a game is injecting code or a program is injecting code into the game, there's ways to get around and jerry-rig shit to have it where you're hacking the game, and before you know it, we have aimbots going around and stuff like that. And they especially since they're trying to make Bungie or Destiny this competitive title, although I still don't see. I mean, they've made steps in that direction, but I don't see Destiny ever being something like that. But you never know. I could see both sides of the argument here, and it seems like Bungie's stuck between a rock and a hard place, especially when it comes to PC. It's just so easy to get things like that going with hacks and shit like that. So that's what's going on. We've been talking a lot about Destiny today, but there's a lot been going on, especially with the PC release. We've got two more articles. We have PUBG has finally added or is adding vaulting and climbing to the test servers next week. Now, stuff like this is something that can radically change the way the meta of PUBG is played. So it's going to be interesting to see, because now you could vault through windows where previously, if you were in a house, you're somewhat safe because they can only come in through the main doors. But now if you got people vaulting through windows, there's a change to how people approach situations. So it's interesting to see what happens to the meta of the game as these features are added. I have nowhere near enough experience in the game to properly say what would happen. I haven't played. I've probably put like 6 hours into the game. But I don't even think it's been that much. So that's interesting though that they're adding this, because a lot of people have been asking for this a long time, because there's just straight up walls you can't jump over, and it's really fucking frustrating when you can't get over them, especially if you're trying to get in the house and loot it. So, and then finally we have Microsoft finally kills off Xbox One's Kinect. They're stopping production. It won't be in stores much longer. I don't know why this wasn't killed off earlier, because there's not much that supports the Kinect now, besides it being like a webcam. So that's just something interesting. We're seeing a piece of technology die. It's being sent away. Rest in pieces, Kinect. You were
a shitty piece of technology.
Yeah, something that added an additional $100-something to the Xbox, and then they removed you. So it's finally being discontinued. We're no longer going to see it. So that was our new segment. Just bring some stuff to you guys that happened over the last week. We're going to move on to our spooktastic main topic. Spooky. Oh, someone give me your best. What's that dude from Sesame Street that counts? Give me him. The Count Dracula.
One cookie. Two cookies.
Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Beautiful. I love it.
I got 8 M's in my bank account.
God damn it. So that was the episode, guys. Thanks for tuning in. That was all the spookiness we could afford.
Next week.
Budget spookiness, bitches.
Budget spookiness. So we did an episode a little bit earlier in the month to start off the spook, and we're going to continue it tonight. I tried to get through our news and stuff quickly, so we have a decent amount of time before we hit the 2-hour mark. So we're going to go over our top 3s and I love top lists. So we're gonna do top threes, and we got games, movies.
I like top lists. Ooh.
Games, movies,
I like
genres, and then we're all gonna tell a spooky story that we did not pull from the internet. You're gonna give me your best attempt at a spooky story. That is what's the word for it when you pull it out of your ass?
In thin air.
No,
Pulling it out of your ass.
what's the word like an actor that does
good.
something that's not according to script? They just kind of make it up as
Bullshit.
they go. Improv. We're going to improv scary
bullshit,
stories. So they're probably not going to be good, but we're just going to give our attempt at an improv scary story. And I'm probably going to put some spooky music in while we do it. So, top threes. What do you guys want to start with? We got movies, games, and I want to put in genres because there's different ways horrors can go. I think we should start with movies. I know Shawn is
I think genres would take too long.
What?
I think genres would take too long.
Too long?
There's so many unlimited genres. You probably just do animated, live action, and then games.
Okay. Animated. I guess.
Yeah.
All right.
And
so
you could even do comics if, like, as a side note, if anybody's read any good horror comics, they could throw that in.
yeah, and also you guys tuning in, I want to hear what you guys have to think. Give me your top threes. If you hear like top 3 games, top 3 movies, actually right now, if you're on YouTube, pause the episode, head down to them comments, give me your top 3 games, top 3 movies, and top 3 whatever the third one we decide is. So yeah. So let's start with you, Shawn, our resident spookmeister. Let me know what your top 3 spooky games are. We'll start with games. We'll do all 3 games.
My tops tend to shift depending on mood because I probably have 100 number ones and 100 number twos. So, off the top of my head, let's see. All right, the first Fatal Frame, I remember that being pretty scary.
I fucking love those games, man. They're awesome.
Yeah, the Fatal Frames are good, and they've all been about equal level of quality. The last one I played, I don't think I played the demo on. I want to say it was Wii U. That was pretty good, but I never bought the game. I feel I should go back and buy it. The digital store's still up.
Do you remember?
Yeah, Fatal Frame I remember being really good because unlike games like Siren, which was also super creepy, but it's
what
not
I was thinking
the top
of.
my list.
Is that the same game,
Siren
Shawn? Is that the same game where?
Sight jack?
Oh yeah, the sight jacking. I remember that game.
Siren's story would have made a super creepy movie, but I think the game would have been more terrifying if you either didn't have combat and it was more if they had made it more of a because it was a stealth game by far, but the idea wasn't quite polished enough to make the gameplay smooth. So there's a lot of needless dying, and that's a little frustrating. But Siren is I would put Siren up there. But I'm gonna do that whole game rankings thing they do on YouTube and say one from like this genre or from this, type of thing. So if I'm gonna choose between Siren and Fatal Frame, I'll definitely take Fatal Frame. Siren's good. I suggest you play it. I actually own it on PlayStation 4, the first one. I haven't replayed it because I haven't nutted up to play it yet, but I do remember that one.
You said the first Siren. Creepy. The first Siren is available on PS4.
Yeah, they've got the PlayStation 2 game on
I wonder if it's on Steam. We should do... I want to get Antony over here to do a spooky Let's Play because he's such a little bitch when it comes to horror games. And
Siren's creepy.
I want him to play it.
She burns the blood, the island gets cut off from reality a little bit like Uzumaki.
A little close there.
Like you can't escape. So, that's because the dog is pushing... He's deciding it's cuddle time and he's pushing the mic into my face.
Oh.
Siren's premise with the whole, the kid dying, and then his body gets filled with this... I'm not going to spoil the plot, I'm just going to tell you how the game starts.
It's old as fuck.
Give our viewers an idea. His body gets filled with blood from the ocean. This island, there's a curse that gets disrupted, or I should say a ritual gets disrupted. When the ritual gets disrupted by this little boy, he runs away. He gets shot. There's a hole in his chest. He bleeds out and falls in the water. As he's about to hit the water turns to blood. And that blood goes into his body, and then he becomes a central character. He gets pulled out of the water by a spooky girl, and then you have various individuals alive on the island who are trying to survive because every other person on the island has been turned into basically a demonic puppet, kind of like a zombie. And they sight jack, so you can see through the eyes of the enemies to try and avoid them. And it's super, super creepy. And of course, it's a PS2 game, so it relies heavily on fog because draw distance isn't its strong point. So it's a good game, but Fatal Frame, I think, just tells a better story. I think if I'm going to choose between one of two distinctly Japanese stories, I would definitely go with Fatal Frame over the two, because that one makes it a bit more personal. It's a bit less like a horror movie and a bit more like a horror fable. So I definitely go with that. For my next horror game, I'd take it Goldie but Goodie. Resident Evil changed the genre, so I'm definitely going to throw Resident Evil up there.
One, right?
If you don't want to play the old PS1 game, you could always play the remake. But yeah,
good.
the first Resident Evil, for sure. And I really want to put the first Silent Hill up there. But
I feel like
fuck it, I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to put the first Silent Hill up there.
I've never played
oh, you bitch.
most of the Resident Evil games and Silent Hill. And I mean, I just know, even without playing them, like you just know they have that kind of charisma and just like nostalgia to like making that franchise and that genre really explode. I mean, that every time people, we're doing it right now, and just people always bring these games up, and they're, they get brought up for a reason. So, here I am just hearing it again. So, I mean, they must be scary games. At some point, I will play them, especially now that I have a PlayStation, because, I don't think Silent Hill wasn't made for Xbox, was it?
The later ones were. The second one forward were, but the first one was not. To give you an idea, Tyler, Silent Hill dared to do things that other horror games just simply didn't do. Whereas Resident Evil was very action heavy, Silent Hill, you had weapons, but they just weren't. They weren't super effective like they were in Resident Evil. You get a good gun in Resident Evil, you can lay waste to everything. You can down the hunters, you can down lickers. It's not a problem. But in Silent Hill, there's almost no ammo, so you have to pick and choose. You have to aim. You're intentionally running past things or trying to sneak past things, and a lot of times you don't have a choice. And it's so skin-crawlingly creepy. And the way maybe like the first Japanese horror movie you ever saw was like that kind of level creepy. In the first game, there's a scene where you go into a room and there's a phone that's unplugged from the wall. And you pick up the phone earlier on in the level and nothing happens, it's just some static. And then you get forced into the room when you're being chased by this enemy. And while you're in there, you notice that there's these dead babies hanging from the ceiling on hooks. Now, they're not exactly babies. They're these little black husks that basically look like babies. And they're hanging from hooks. And then the phone rings. And you have no choice but to pick it up. And when you pick it up, at first you hear an infant crying, and then it just turns into this blood-curdling shriek before the thing goes. And I mean, and it lasts for a while, and it just makes your skin crawl. Like, it's that kind of game. It was so good with setting and pacing and how it let the story loose, and it was just really, really well made. The other ones afterwards weren't quite as strong, and as they evolved, I mean, some of them better than others. As they evolved the story started to get sharper and sharper, but nothing's eclipsed the first game for me. Maybe the second in terms of gameplay, but the ending of the second one was kind of weak. So, I don't know. Right. But, and anyway, that's my 3 games.
I like how Silent Hill also a lot of the time stuck to a meaningful horror. Like, a lot of it was psychological. It was explaining the psyche of the character because they're kind of residing in their own personal hell in a way with Silent Hill and stuff like that. Yeah. And I enjoyed that a lot. I'm a huge fan of psychological horror, and even like when it comes to like societal horror too. With like a good thing is Silence of the Lambs. I thought was cool because although if you were to watch that today, it might not hold up as well because that's not as much of an issue as it was in the time that it came out. But the idea of it and the characters that were played, what was his name? The character that was it Anthony Hopkins?
The actor, yeah.
Yeah, that just the performance that he put on. Oh, we'll get to that actually. I'm skipping ahead. My bad.
The other
I
thing
like
that makes Silent
what?
No, Anthony Hopkins was badass. He was the best part of that movie.
Yeah,
He made
But
it.
The thing about Silent Hill that makes it both psychological horror and real horror is because that place is some sort of. It's got this whole backstory, and the spot is this place of power, and but it's broken. It's like a valve that somebody broke, because a long time ago it used to be like the Hamptons and stuff like that. It was this big time ritzy ski resort area, and then somebody broke the place. There was a cult, which actually gets featured, I think, in the third or fourth game with the two sisters. Anyway, there's this cult that tried to tap into the place and take it over and use it for their black magic and all this, but they fucked it up. And what they did, because before it had the ability to make what was inside of you become real, right? So it could make your happiness real, it could make your nightmares real. It just depends on how you tap into it. But because nobody was actively tapping into it, it was just a feel-good resort spot. You know, it was just a really popular place. But when these evil people tried to tap into it, and they did their ritual long before the first game ever takes place, they broke this magic or whatever it is about this spot, so that basically the hot and cold, the positive knob is broken, and it can't be turned on. It's dead. So the only thing that Silent Hill is capable of doing now is reflecting the negative parts of your psyche, making you face your own demons. But those demons are real.
yeah.
Like whatever you're seeing, like if Tyler, if you and I are in Silent Hill right now, and I mean the dark side of Silent Hill, not the normal part where there's no monsters. If we're in Silent Hill, there's only the nightmare zone and then the normal zone, because Silent Hill will randomly disappear and you can't get there. And well, God, I'm trying to do this without taking up a shitload of time. It gets cut away from reality. Every so often it gets hungry and it summons you. If you are a broken person who has to face a demon from your past, it will summon you. Somehow you'll get a letter from a dead loved one, either because of your sins or someone else's sins. It doesn't matter. For one reason or another, you're going to go there because of something you fucked up on. You may have been fucked over too. It doesn't matter. Your sins will bring you there. And then it will consume you. And either you overcome the sins of your past and whatever your weaknesses are and whatever you're hurting from, the pains of your past perhaps. It's not always that you're a bad person. And then it will let you go. Or you're defeated by your sins and your pains, and it will consume you. And then you become one of its denizens. But if you and I were both there, like we get summoned there for whatever reason, and then it separates from this reality, which is when we undergo our trial, while we're there, you and I could be fighting a monster. It's going to look completely different to you and I. It's still a monster. It still hurts us, and it's still evil. But we create what it is. So I'm getting cut up by giant blade arms, whereas you're getting torched alive by a flamethrower. I don't see that. It looks different to me, but we're both fighting what is essentially a demon. It's something along those lines. So every time it separates from our reality, that's when the story takes place in these games. The characters arrive, Silent Hill floats away to hell, and then you bounce back and forth between the real version, which is the concrete buildings and shit, and then the dark version, which is the rusted walls and the corrugated iron and the dead babies on spikes and shit.
I feel like if Shawn was thrown into this world, having the knowledge that he already has, he would probably survive. I give him 24 hours. I give him a good 24 hours.
But
Silent Hill, if you think about it, is a terrifying concept because it's completely capable of killing you, and it does it slowly.
You're isolated with your deepest fears.
Yeah, Shawn's demons will be like small people on stilts with machetes and
overtime at work.
Oh no!
And giant vaginas that won't let me touch them.
Oh my god! All right, we're just. Whew, I want to see this
Yeah,
version
but
of Silent Hill.
anyway, that's why I think Silent Hill is really good. So you've got Silent Hill, which is this very cerebral, very just deep horror. You've got Resident Evil, which is, even though it's Japanese, and it was kind of prophetic in terms of how it treated big pharma. Was very kind of like a very action oriented, very well paced survival horror, and invented the genre. And then you had Fatal Frame, which gives you an almost fairy tale esque ghost story.
Yeah.
And those are the three biggest contributions I think Japan has made to horror in both cinema and video games, is those three types of stories. So
I
I
like
just
also.
dominated a shitload of time. I'm sorry.
That's fine. I also like with
Yeah.
with
Like
Fatal.
it-
I also like with Fatal Frame that it like makes you face the ghosts too, with the way that you dispose of them with the camera. I think that's an ingenious way of dealing, and you see it has exploded. You see it in almost everything now, where they have cameras in games that you fight the ghost off with. It like started that mechanic, and it's such a cool mechanic in a horror game. It's like we don't have to build the jump scares, because you'll find them yourself in just playing through the game, because you have to fight off these monsters with a camera and let them get as close as fucking possible before you take the shot. And that's just so interesting to me.
Yeah, and it's unnerving, dude.
Yeah,
How many times
definitely.
were you like on the edge of your seat, just about to shit yourself,
Yeah.
waiting for it to get close enough where you could frame the shot?
I don't remember if it was the first one, but that one ghost that you're climbing underneath one of the houses and it's like crawling upside down and it's like closing
dude.
in. Yeah, that one fucked me up. And also the one that keeps falling from the one that like initially falls from the roof and like breaks her legs and she like crawls at you that way. That one's kind of fucked up too. Yeah, man, that game was really cool, and it just the whole atmosphere of it is very, very disheartening. I guess I can't think of the word. I think man, I didn't think how long this will take.
Yeah, no,
Let's finish
we're
that.
definitely
It'll
getting
be a
into
long
this.
one. We'll deal with it.
We'll finish.
What about you guys? What about your games?
Yeah, you hit me up, Tyler. What's your top three
All
horror
right.
games that you've played?
So there's quite a few out there, but like, I mean, I can't explain like how Shawn does. You know, I just like it just for the pure
No,
enjoyment
dude,
of
you
listening. So,
present it
no,
and say
I
why
would
you like
definitely-
it. What was fun about it? That's all that you need.
So for the first one, I'll definitely, and like I said at the beginning of the podcast, Alien Isolation, a newer. I keep hearing that door creak, and it's actually freaking me out. You know,
That's why I'm
it's
doing
a
it.
podcast, so it's like
He's
you know,
providing
next
the
time I'm
Foley.
gonna hear Shawn like shrieking in like fear, just like terror because he's getting stabbed or something
Yeah.
by his dog.
And then it cuts
some
to
shit.
it cuts to him stabbing like a piece of like meat that he got from the butcher shop and squeezing a bottle of ketchup on the walls and stuff. He's making the Foley for this podcast.
Oh yeah. But so yeah, I definitely I'm a huge fan of the Alien franchise, and when I first saw like the trailer and the announcement for it, I was, I immediately think there might be hope. There might be hope. You know, maybe this is the game that does it. This is the game that breaks the curse, because the previous game before that, which is also the first game I had ever pre-ordered, Aliens, Colonial Marines. Now that's a terror. That is a scary game in itself. Not because of the horror aspect, because there was none of that whatsoever, but just how bad of a game that was. So
yeah.
So there's actually one mission in there called the Raven, and it was kind of like a stealth-based mission where there was a bunch of xenomorphs post once they blew up for LV-426, that the huge reactor exploded. All the remaining xenomorphs were like mutated from the radiation from like the nuclear blast, so they're like their blood is like super, because they already have acid for blood, so now it's like on a ticking
Super
time
acid?
bomb. So it's like a ticking time bomb. So you have to like maze your way through the sewers to get to like your guys, because you're separated and you can't tell. There's a bunch of like frozen bodies, like they get like frozen, just like how it was like in Pompeii when Vesuvius erupted. A lot of those people are just kind of frozen in time, and you can't tell. Some of those are still alive, so all of a sudden they'll start moving if you get close to them, and they'll just waddle away. But if you move too fast, they start to glow more, and then they run up at you if you're still making noise, and they just blow up. And so that was pretty cool, because you don't know when they start moving or if they ever notice you. And there's plenty of those, but that was the only good mission from Aliens Colonial Marines. But to get to the main one here for Alien Isolation, they took everything from all the previous, Alien games, and most of them were involved with predators because it was always like Alien versus Predators, and then the Marines in there as well. So what they did is they scrapped all that. They were like, hey, let's make an Alien game. Get this, guys, but not make it an Aliens game, because that's what all those games were based off of. Were hundreds of xenomorphs and the pulse rifles and all the Marine hoo-ah and all that shit like that. And it was just like it was a bug hunt. So you were just mowing down aliens left and right, and there wasn't really anything scary to that. It was kind of cool that they were definitely a threat, but what they did is they isolated you being you being the protagonist of playing Ellen Ripley's daughter, Amanda Ripley. So that was really cool because they kind of made it for the story. Was very interesting too, other than just the horror aspect, but they made it like canon to where you played as her daughter, and it's like 15 years from the disappearance of her mother or something like that, and you've been on the lookout for her this whole time, and you finally find the Nostromo log or the flight recorder, and you're trying to find some closure for the reason why your mother disappeared, and all of a sudden you get thrown into her nightmare, the thing that she's been fighting the rest of her life, with all the movies, from Alien to Alien Resurrection, which we don't really talk about that one too much. But
was Resurrection the one with Michael Wincott? Winona Ryder.
Winona Ryder, yep, and
I like that
and what's
one.
his face? See, I mean, okay,
Ron
well,
Perlman, I think, was in it.
Yeah, Ron Perlman was in it too. Yeah, he had that. He was like the merc, the badass merc.
He's always the badass merc.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
Isolation did. It was brilliant. What they did with it.
Like I said, they took everything away, and then they just made it. You were by yourself, and there's an alien going after you, and your mission is to hide from it, and while proceeding through, the area. And the other cool thing about it, like I said, other than just like the horror aspect, but they made the setting around you. They made it to where it was supposed to be like that, where you're going through these corridors, and it's just like how the movie was. It was lo-fi sci-fi is what they called it. So it's a technology that they made, because I think Alien came out in 1979. So what they did is they made it all kind of really rough, and not like how futuristic things look today, where everything is white and clean and like large. They had these bulky machines, and it's pretty much what they thought the future would be if it existed. So that's how they made that.
Didn't they use the same exact? Didn't they use a scan of the motion detector from the first film? In that, wasn't it the same exact device?
In the first
film,
yeah.
I heard they brought a lot of the tech from the first film. They replicated it in game.
Yeah, they were able to access 20. See, that's the cool thing with 20th Century Fox is, like, even though they know, like, chances are they're going to be having a huge miss here, they still give, the Alien franchise another chance each time. And they always let them, they open up their data banks and their records, and they pull all the things from the scripts to, the original scripts to the settings and the tools that were used and made and the props. So they had all access to all that, and they replicated that, and they threw it into the game. So a lot of those things from the musical score, which is spot on, that part itself makes up half the game. Just having that sort of scary, spooky vastness of you just being alone. It has that very vast, open, like chime and just like vacuum of space kind of like feel to it, because it's just you know what's going on until you hear large thuds, and next thing you know, the aliens run on top of you, and chances are you're screwed. So
the alien was almost a secondary enemy too, wasn't there? Like a bunch of androids in there that were all fucked up.
Yeah, they had androids too. You wouldn't know if they're bad or not. Some of them were corrupt. It was called the Working Joes, I think. So it wasn't like how it was like the one of the more first generations before the actual androids or cyborgs that were in the other alien movies from Weyland-Yutani. There was like an off-brand, lower budget version of those androids, so they were kind of like not as good. They still had like a lot of issues with them, but which I wasn't too fond of. Definitely going into that sort of going into this game, I knew that was going to be a thing. Like they're definitely going to be an enemy, and they're very tough too because they're hard to kill. But for the most part, they're mostly just there for you to evade or trick them to kind of let them do things for you because I think you can hack them or some of them, like I said, you can use toward your will and they're not like bad guys all the time, but it's 50-50, whatever you come down to. Also, some other enemies were the crew themselves who have you're in the station or whatever that has been torn to shreds because of the alien in this outbreak or whatever. And these guys, again, it's like friend or foe. You don't know because they just see another person, and you don't know. Everyone's kind of like it's every man for themselves. So it's kind of like that. You don't know if they might help you or they might. For the most time, they were your enemy. They come in, and the best part would be to get the alien to make enough noise and get the alien to come in, because any gunshot that goes off automatically triggers the alien to come and scope the place out. So either if they fire or you do a fire or you shoot off and then you go high, the alien will come out the vents. You'll hear him come up and scare everyone away, and everyone's running in terror while alien's tearing people to shreds. So he kind of clears the area for you, but now the alien's there. So you can kind of, in a sense, of get rid of the human aspects in the game and just deal with the alien. The only downside is the aliens and the alien and the androids. They actually don't cooperate with each other, but they just ignore each other. The alien knows it's not human, and the android just kind of oh, what the heck is this? What is this doing here? Whatever, I'm just gonna ignore it. That was kind of dumb to me, because in the movies, especially in Aliens, from what I remember, when Bishop gets torn to shreds from the alien queen, it's still a moving thing. I would think the alien would act instinctually and just still tear up to pieces, but in the game, they ignore each other, which I thought was kind of silly, but whatever.
Well, the one you're fighting in isolation is a drone. It's a lower level alien.
Well, it's the original.
Can change sex. So the one that you have in isolation, because there's only one, right?
There's actually multiple at some point. See, it's not so much that it changes sex. What it does is it's somehow it's like a hive thing. So in a sense, I guess it can, but no one's ever really, or at least I haven't heard anyone term it as changing sex or whatever. Just because if there's if it's
I don't know if they have a sex. I think the only female is the queen.
And
all the rest of them are considered male. But if there's only one, it will change into a queen. Kind of like the frogs can change sex. If there's a severe limit to males or females, they'll switch over. Aliens will do the same thing.
Exactly.
But they do have a hive mind. The queen communicates her thoughts psychically. If there is no queen, they function with a human level intelligence. So it can tell if something's going to be a threat to it or not. And it probably just figures out that they're not a threat and ignores them. Because Bishop was clearly a threat. And I think the dude in the first one got torn up too.
Ash?
Didn't Ash get destroyed?
Well, I mean, the crew beat him up, not the alien.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But the aliens are intelligent. They're not, I wouldn't consider it it's alien to the way we think. They don't think the way that we do. But I've read the comic books, and the comic books attribute a great level of intelligence to them.
Oh, absolutely. There's a lot that goes in the comics. But I'm just saying, just for the games and the movies, because the game itself is more based off, like I said, just the first movie, kind of giving that kind of lonely feel to it. But great game. As for the other two, I mean, I just that was my big one because I'm such a fan of the series and the franchise as a whole. But besides that, the other two, I definitely would say, and this was recent news too. I don't know if you might have talked about this in the last podcast. I think that's when it happened. But who made Dead Space again with EA?
Visceral.
Was it Visceral Games?
Oh shit! I totally forgot Dead Space. That was excellent too.
Visceral Games just got shut down from EA.
We talked about it.
So, but Dead Space, I definitely thought that's what I like aspects of horror where there's just the plain survival. Dead Space is one of the very few action horror games that I enjoy. Because that's the thing, if it's a horror game for me, I like the survival, run, hide. You can evade it, you can kind of stall it using some weapons, but you can't kill it. Now, Dead Space, though, on that hand, did it great with using, and I'm talking about just the first one. I don't know. I didn't care too much for 2, and I know 3 was just more of an action. Like they took everything that was good from Dead Space and they just took out the horror and they made it actiony. So what they did with the original Dead Space was they took, to make it interesting, because a lot of the weapons are actually just based off of Isaac's, him being an engineer. It's a modified tool, things that he uses as an engineer to fix things or whatnot, like the plasma cutter, but he ended up making it a weapon, which I thought was really neat. It wasn't just like he was like some militant or some guy or a merc or whatever. He was just a normal guy with the crew on a ship, on like a mining ship, whatever, and he was an engineer. That was his job. He just makes sure things, the light stays on, the light bulb goes on. If it goes off, they replace the light bulb, whatever. And then all this other shit happens. Great game for suspense and again, kind of you being alone, but you have that weapon to. I actually only used the plasma cutter. I think there was an achievement for that too. If you go through the entire game just using the plasma cutter, it definitely makes the game 10 times more terrifying because that's the only gun you have. And I know there was like a plasma rifle, which is probably the most military gun that they had there.
They had 2 military guns. They had a rocket, the one that fired small missiles, and they had the machine gun, and both of them were lousy.
Yeah,
because they didn't target; they just did mass damage.
Yeah, I just stuck with the plasma cutter and buffed that up. But definitely great for. I was actually watching a video too, not too long ago on it, but it made you think differently about some horror games because essentially what Dead Space was I think it was Resident Evil 4 when that started getting really actiony. It was pretty much the same thing, but with zombies in space in a sense, but with that whole aspect of an infection out there and you're stuck on a ship, rather than being
5. It came out when Resident Evil 5 came out. And it proved that you didn't have to just stick to one spot and fire in order to build tension because Dead Space allowed you to move.
Oh yeah, so I really liked that aspect.
Dead Space draws heavy inspiration from a lot of film properties too. Heavily from your Alien. It draws from the mass amount of enemies from Aliens, and it draws from that whole isolated idea with you're alone 99.9% of the time. So it does a lot of everything that you praised about isolation. It does that. It just does it on a kind of a different kind of playing field. And then the mythology it made was amazing too. And that's way too complex to go into here. But
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's why. But I'm just going to say real quick, I know Alien, because Alien actually, the whole franchise, a lot of things take from that franchise and make it their own, whether it's Halo or, any other games. And I almost say Halo mostly because Halo, well, not only that, just the military, even the UNSC, that is the USMC, I think it was in the Alien franchise. I can't remember, but it was the Marines pretty much. Also the ships, the Colonial Marines. So so Isolation, Dead Space, and then I'm gonna go with this one because this is one of the first horror games I always enjoyed, and it's gonna be funny when I say it, but watching PewDiePie when he first started with Amnesia: The Dark Descent. So that was always a fun game to watch, and I bought it when I first had the 2-week trial when I got my PlayStation. There was a deal, and I got the Dark Descent, Machine for Pigs, and some other mode for $7. So I'm super happy. I've been holding off for a while to play that, and I don't have my PlayStation up with me now. I only have my Xbox, but definitely when I go back down and I'll take it with me. But Amnesia was for me. Again, with the isolation and an interesting story where you're trying to figure things out, what the hell happened? It's kind of like you had that crazy night last night and you black out, and usually it's the scariest thing for you is to wake up and it's oh, my clothes still on, or oh, what the hell happened? What the hell's going on? But now here's this guy stuck in this castle, and he's leaving mental notes, or he's leaving actual notes, around the whole place that he's fighting, and it's from himself, and it's hey, this is what happened last night. There's a guy who was trying to kill you, and there's some crazy shit down in the cellar right now. Have fun. Here's a lantern. watch out, you can't kill this thing or whatever. Solve this puzzle. You know, it was a great puzzle horror game. So that was cool. I mean, I played like a demo from it, and then obviously watching PewDiePie play. It was always funny just watching him freak out over things and give objects life. Like was it Stefano and the barrels or whatever? You know, it was very intimate in that sense. Yeah, so it was funny too. Obviously, watching him play, but I jumped a lot too through a lot of compilations that I've seen. Because I mean that game is pretty scary. The music, and when you're in the dark, you know, everything starts shifting around because your sanity level is getting low, and you know you have to worry about things like that. And literally, for you to stay alive, it's like keep on the light. So, those would be my 3 games, I would say.
All right,
So,
cool.
Kyle,
you guys took some of my stuff. So I'm
I
gonna
feel
go
like an
with,
honorable mention should go to Corpse Party. I'm not going to say anything more than that, but I totally forgot that one.
I was gonna pick Corpse Party because
Then do that. Hell yeah, because that one deserves to be talked about.
It doesn't. I mean, it has gotten attention, especially because there has been more popular players that have played it, but it's not referred to when you look back at horror. But I definitely thought it was. I mean, it didn't do anything special. It just did everything well. I thought with Corpse Party, it's your basic bunch of students or just teens to young adults gets trapped in a area with a myriad of ghosts that become a problem. Definitely very fun. I like that it wasn't just ghosts going on. There is drama being inflicted. You're seeing the psychological impact of being trapped and just completely removed from reality because of this ritual that they perform, and them having to deal with, again, a myriad of ghosts, different types of enemies, and it's something that you're going through as well. Definitely a very fun game to play through. There was a collection of them on, I think they were on PSP, and you could also get them on computer. They
also released a Vita version of Blood Drive, which I have, is the 3rd game.
They eventually made not an anime, but movies that were animated. That were done in the anime.
Made an anime.
I thought they were just movies, but they were anime, but they were movie animated.
Yeah, they also have a live action movie, which is it's not good. They changed the story vastly, like who survives, who does what. It's just not good.
But there's going to
be a sequel. So.
Yeah, they're also. I like that they get creative with what happens. The way that people die is cool. You're kind of just trying to figure out who's going to survive. You get connected to certain characters, get disconnected from other characters. You're like, man, I hope that person dies. Or it's just that mosh posh of all those things, and it's done well and it's well written, and you just kind of get attached to these people and hope they survive. It's just a fun playthrough. If you don't want to, I'm sure you could find it somewhere online. If you don't want to, I'm sure there's people that have played it that you can watch them play through it. It's also cool in a playthrough sense because one Let's Player can get a completely different set of deaths than another Let's Player depending on what actions they do. It also follows that along the lines of like a telltale game. Is that how you say it?
There you go.
Yeah. It follows along the lines of that where there's branching narrative depending on what you do. So some people can die while others can't. Changes the story up a little bit here and there. It's a fun horror game, and I really enjoyed what I saw of it. I had never played through an entire game. I played through parts of one. I think I had an emulator for one. But definitely
it's a hard game to play. It's very emotionally personal because they take time to let you know who each person is and what they're like, and you become fond of them. And there's only a set number of characters that can survive. Everyone else is going to die, and you have to, every time you play through that, you have to live through that experience again and again, and it never gets any easier. It's like watching either Full Metal Alchemist and waiting for what's his name to get killed by that chick at the phone booth every fucking time that gets you. And Corpse Party does the same thing. I played all 3 games like 4 or 5 times a piece, and every time it gets you in the feels, man. It's a harsh game. It's really good. Goes back to that well-written part you were talking about.
Yeah. It definitely, again, you get that attachment going on. I'm thinking other games that
I have one I forgot to mention, but I'm gonna see if Kyle will say it because I don't want to steal from him.
I think what System Shock 2 did was really
yeah,
good.
that was a good one.
I enjoyed. I haven't played through all. These are games that I've either seen stuff of or I feel like they deserve mention because they have merit when it comes to the horror franchise.
Just the ones I played.
I like System Shock. I like what System Shock did. I enjoyed the world of System Shock from what I understand from the series.
I only played the first one.
They're again. If you want more, you could always search these titles up. But I'm thinking of things that popped to mind because I had like Resident Evil and Silent Hill in mind. But one game I did play through entirely was Resident Evil 7, and among the Resident Evil games, I want to say that out of all of them of the series, I'd say the award goes to the first one. And although the fourth one was good, I see it more of an action game than a horror game, even though it was such a good game. So I don't really want to put it in the list because I don't count it a horror game. I count it more of a action title. But I think Resident Evil 7 was a really good game. It was a very good return to focus for the series. Although it was in a first-person perspective, I think they did a very good job of making it feel like an old Resident Evil game at the same time being new. The way the character feels, it almost feels in a way that you're experiencing tank controls, even in a first-person perspective. The way that what's his name? What's the name? Ethan. The way Ethan moves, he feels like you're playing tank controls, even though you're just playing a first-person game because you're dealing with a character that moves like his legs are broken, and you're constantly you have someone constantly on your ass. I feel like although the horror slowly dies off because you just get a fucking arsenal of weapons, it still does a good job of giving you genuinely creepy moments. Like because the first hour of the game is scary because you don't have anything to protect yourself and you're dealing with these threats. But as you get guns, you're like, hey, I could kind of deal with stuff. This isn't as bad. But then they have moments where they introduce like supernatural elements. Like there's a whole segment where you go into Evelyn's room that is genuinely just unnerving and spooky because it's completely dark. You think there's a ghost, and it's just the way that you traverse the room, it puts your hairs on the back of your neck stand up. It's crazy.
Evelyn's the bioweapon, right?
Yes.
She's the bioweapon?
Yes.
Okay.
But the story to that game I found interesting. I like the idea of, again, a bioweapon. I liked the whole family, the cast of characters that you dealt with. They all had their own interesting quirks and personalities that made it almost like you got attached to them in a way. Even though you had to kill them, they all had like things that made them interesting, so you felt like you wanted to learn more about them, even though they were a bunch of crazy people that were infected. The only thing I could say that I felt wasn't as good is the fact that all the other enemies are like a generic mob. They didn't really get creative with types of enemies, although they may do different things. They're all just kind of black stuff that moves, and it's just that kind of felt like a little lackadaisical. But when it comes to the four main cast that you fight against, I thought that was cool. I like the idea that I don't want to spoil too much of it because it's still somewhat new, but I liked that game a lot. I thought it was a good return to form. It was beautiful. The game was very pretty. It had genuine moments of terror, and the fact that the entire game could be played in VR is a huge bonus as well. It's definitely
that's what I'm waiting for.
It's definitely a really good game. It's something that I feel like a lot of people that own a PlayStation should have. Only PlayStation because it can be played in VR. Xbox doesn't have a VR component yet, but definitely feel like it's a good pickup if you haven't played it. Very fun. The DLCs I don't recommend because they weren't worth. I wouldn't say they were worth the money. I mean, if you feel like dropping it, that's fine, but they're not like these big story expanding things. They're more like little mini games that you or experiences that you mess around with. So I didn't really feel like they were worth it. But the main game is definitely fun. It introduces a lot of replayability too. Once you get the harder difficulty, and then you can acquire weapons like infinite ammo and stuff that Resident Evil is known for. big ass weapons that do a lot of damage and shit like that. So it definitely adds a lot. I've played through the game like 3 times at this point, and there's just a lot to do. It's fun if you're an achievement hunter or a trophy hunter. There's a lot there as well. There's some really hard ass trophies, like things from reducing how many saves you can use to beating the game in a certain amount of time on the hardest difficulty and shit along those lines. Really fun game. And was that 2 or 3? That's 3. So I don't really have much to say about System Shock and Corpse Party, only because I've seen them more than played them, but I definitely recommend that you look them up, because Corpse Party I think is underseen. It's a really good game, and System Shock I thought did.
I believe it's underrated.
Yeah.
For sure. And the thing about Corpse Party is it's more story-centric. It's not a graphical powerhouse. It's not a beautiful game.
It's like, it looks like it's made in RPG Maker, pretty much.
Well, the first one was RPG Maker. The first one was an old version of RPG Maker, and then they remade it in its own game engine. And then they re-released it again with some additional endings. And then they released a side version that was basically that one with some more endings. Then they released the second one, kind of did the same process with that, kept releasing new versions of it with more stuff. And then they released Blood Drive. And the 3 games are all separate. They're all different. I want to say separate. Each game is a second venture into the bad place. The first game is from one girl's perspective. The second game is from the boy's perspective, and then the third game is from the other girl's perspective. 3 of the primary survivors. And each time they go back, they're going back in and hitting the reset button and starting the entire thing over again. The second time they go back, they start the curse over from square one, so everyone's alive again. And they're trying to save them. And then they find out they can't do that. And in the third game, they start it all over again because the memories of everyone that bitch has killed have been erased. So those people just didn't exist anymore. And the only ones that remembered them are the survivors. So the survivors band back together and risk their souls one more time, which no one would ever do, except for super, super good people, because I am not one of those fucking people. But they go back in a third time just to bring the memories back. And that's the kind of story it tells, the kind of heartstrings. The way these people die is unholy.
Oh, yeah.
It's horrible. And so the survivors are like, if they're going to die, if there's nothing we can do for them, at the very least, we're going to make sure that their families can remember them, because they get erased from existence. And that's the point of Blood Drive, is basically the idea that these people are not remembered, that nobody can remember them, is the worst kind of death. And that's a very Japanese way of looking at things. But they decide to go back in one more time to at least make sure that she can't eat their memories. And that's awesome.
I remember one of the that wasn't one of the main characters that died, but one of the side things that you find as you just explore the world was one character talking about the fact that both of their the Achilles tendons on their legs were cut, and they were just crawling around bleeding out. And they were explaining like the pain that they were going through and the fact that they were starving at the same time and shit like that. I remember that, like, just how graphic that, like, just series of notes, something that has no huge grander meaning to the story, is just something that was building the world and just how fucked up this place was. It really does a good job of solidifying like what these characters are dealing with, and it prepares you for deaths to come in the future. It did a really good job. Just the pacing and the writing in general, I thought was really good.
I think the part that hit me the hardest was one of the characters was leaving for America the next day. And the whole thing starts when they're doing a going away party for her. That's the whole reason everything kicks off, is because they want to do a charm that's going to keep them tied together for life and that they're not going to drift apart. You know, typical end of high school stuff, you know, like let's not forget each other. Let's stay friends forever. Let's not fall apart. And they do this thing that they think, because Japan is this big thing with charms. They do this shit all the time. It's like a fucking Ouija board times 10. And so they do this harmless charm, only it's not what they think it is. And she was going to leave the next day, and she's one of the first to die.
Yeah.
And it hits you in the fucking cockles of the heart, so to speak.
Yeah, also that one girl
and as a counterpoint, I'm sorry, I apologize, but as a counterpoint for the few listeners we do have, I am not a huge fan of Resident Evil 7. as a Resident Evil game. Now, I haven't seen the second half of the game. I sat through a lot of Kyle's playthroughs, and I played the demo myself. And if you're not a fan of Resident Evil, but you love a lot of those first-person indie horror titles that are out there, and you can't get enough of those, and like those intense, spooky ones, it takes a huge amount of inspiration from the more successful first-person horror titles in the indie market, the ones that have blown up over the last 10 years. Elements from those, and it draws a lot of inspiration from that. So until it kicks into the second act, where it's more of the Resident Evil high-tech bioweapon warfare kind of thing, like it still has a strong feel for that. So even if you're not a big Resident Evil fan, it's still worth a buy. It's very strange for me to be in that first-person mode. That's a huge weirdness for me, but I will buy it when the VR bit comes out.
Well, VR
I'm
bit's
gonna
out
fucking
from
play
get-go.
that shit.
You just need a
No,
VR
I mean
set.
when I get a chance to buy it.
Oh,
yeah, when I get a chance to buy it, Kyle, you're gonna be either on the phone or on the PSN hearing me scream as I run away and die.
I wonder if you could do share play with the VR headset. I'm assuming so. I don't know. I don't know if
you can. I'd have to have a better internet connection, but I will definitely do a VR share play, even if I have to go to a friend's house with a better internet connection. If I have to go to like Hector's or something.
Yeah. So that's that.
Yeah.
Those are our tops.
I have a few honorable mentions just to throw them in there in case anyone didn't hear theirs heard. I'm sure.
Oh, update: Wolfenstein 2 is done downloading.
Woo! Until Dawn.
Yo.
Penumbra.
Penumbra was good.
Penumbra was good. Until Dawn, Penumbra. Outlast, the first one. Like I haven't played the second one, but the first one definitely had its moments. PT. I'm surprised. I mean,
that
it wasn't a full game.
It's more of an
but
experience
PT,
than a game. It's not a game.
Yes, but I'm just throwing in there because a lot of people will use that because those who have played it, I'm sure, have shit their pants.
Let's all have a moment of silence for Silent Hills that never came out because Konami can go fuck themselves. Is it Konami?
Yeah.
Yeah. So everyone,
what's that guy's name?
Moment of silence.
As Konami joins the ranks of Ubisoft and EA and Activision.
Yeah.
Yep. So
Man,
there's a few more
that could have been a cool game.
Could have been. Yep.
Man, what was it? It was Guillermo del Toro.
Del Toro, yeah, there you go.
And Hideo Kojima. That would have been cool. Although I think Hideo went straight on to Death Stranding, which I have a mild interest to see what that game's about. So,
to be fair though, I saw what Hideo Kojima did to Castlevania, and it wasn't great. It turned it into an average fucking like Devil May Cry or God of War.
He made those
clone.
games? I didn't know that.
The Shadow, the first one, he was a creative director, so he stepped in and gave them suggestions, his marks on it. But he's not. I really wish I could have seen what that Silent Hills would have been.
Yeah.
But I'm also, as much as I regret it, like I've seen what he does with horror tinged stuff, and it's.
Man, PT was fucking spooky. I'm thinking back at it now. Holy shit.
See? That's why
it
I brought
was.
it up.
That game terrified
PT was
me.
unnerving.
I couldn't play that shit. Like, even with two other people next to me, I had difficulty. That lady was she was terrifying. I hate when stuff moves, like, in an unnatural manner. Like, either things moving very quickly and sporadically, which is also why Jacob's Ladder is a terrifying movie. And then...
oh, God, yes. The mouth people.
Yeah, and then the other thing was things that move fast, but, like, they float. Like, fuck that. There was this movie, I think it was called Mama or something like that, about this woman that drowned, and she was trying to steal this woman's child, but, like, she would, like, her hair, she drowned, so her hair was, like, floating around. Jesus fucking Christ.
I'm trying to mute it. Hold on, guys.
So her hair was, like, floating around and shit, but she would move, like, really quick around the house when she would attack things. She never really attacked stuff because, jump scare horror movie. But just the way that she kind of hit that, like, what's it called? The uncanny valley, where, like, it's human but not, it moves in an unhuman manner. That shit fucks with me.
Yeah, it's creepy, definitely. I know, like, a lot of, like, creature flicks are like that. Like The Descent.
I think I've seen trailers. I never saw that movie.
The Descent was a good movie. I mean,
really
it
good
wasn't great, but I like what it did because it took the 3 struggles and it combined them into one movie. It had man versus man, man versus self, and man versus creature.
Okay, so what we're gonna do?
Was it man versus nature? Sorry, man versus nature.
What we're gonna do? I still
just
want to
segued.
do. I still want to do movies, but I don't want this to run on too long because I know
his
Tyler
name?
has to go soon. So you're gonna name your
it's not-
3, and then you're gonna
Mario.
talk about one. Okay.
Gotcha.
So do your top 3, and then whatever one that you want to discuss that you felt holds the best merit, you're gonna discuss. So we don't.
You
run
started,
too long.
Kyle. So you
Hello?
can start.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, we hear you, Shawn.
Oh God, he left the call.
All right,
Sean,
well,
I don't think you muted yourself, Sean. You muted us. Let me tell him.
Hello?
Oh my God.
This man.
Yeah, I hear you typing.
Okay, there we go.
Oh,
I can hear
okay.
you now.
Yeah, you muted us.
So,
you
yeah,
didn't
like-
mute yourself.
Yeah, well, I didn't hit the button though. It just muted automatically.
All right. So did you hear what I
0%
said though,
professionalism.
Sean, about the top 3?
Yeah, I heard that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess I will go first. The thing is, I'm not a big fan of modern horror movies, and the ones in the past I felt like were just ridiculous. I really like Split, although again, it's not a horror film. I'm not doing top 3. I'm just naming 3. Silence of the Lambs I thought was really good too.
It's more of a thriller.
Yeah.
Suspense.
I think I need to say one that I could talk about and be somewhat understanding of. I guess I could speak of Split, but it wasn't really. One more movie. Shit.
It's just something that scared you, Things that gave you nightmares.
There was this one called Hush. It's on Netflix, I think. That I thought was.
It was a B movie. Went straight to video. It ended up on Netflix. Yeah.
I thought it was really good. It was again that was not really a horror movie. It was more of a thriller too. So I don't really have a good repertoire when it comes to these things. But I guess I could talk a little bit about Hush, which is basically a film about a author that she is deaf and she moves out into the woods to clear her mind of her writer's block or whatever they do. And while she's out in the woods, there's a murderer that comes and basically like attacks the house now and kills some of the neighbors and stuff like that. She's not all alone, but she's kind of like out in the woods. And I thought it was really cool the way they shot the movie and played with the fact that she was deaf and the fact that there was a killer. And this killer was more of a playful one where it wasn't straight up like just walk in, kill her. It was more like he watched her to see how she would react to the way he put her in certain situations. Because he had broken her hand at one point, and he was just kind of watching her and toying with her more instead of straight out like in full intent to kill. So, but the way that they shot the movie, I thought was really cool, and the way that they played, again, with the fact that she was deaf, and some of the scenes where there'd be things going on, but you're getting it from her perspective. So it's complete like a silence, and the fact that there's someone moving around in the house and he's making noise, but you can't hear it because you're getting it from her perspective. It puts like an unnerving feeling, and it almost throws you in her foot, It almost throws you, it puts you in her shoes. And you kind of get the feeling of how she would feel in that situation. Like, holy shit, that's one of the scarier things I've thought about. The fact that someone's trying to kill you, but you're missing one of your senses. I mean, I can imagine being blind would be worse, but that wouldn't really make well for a movie. Although I'm sure they could do that in a way that's cool. But I definitely recommend it if you haven't seen it. There's so many people that at least someone pays for Netflix in the house. So definitely try it, especially with Halloween right around the corner. Grab some friends, sit down and watch some spooky movies if you don't have anything else to do. I recommend Hush is really good. There's also another one called Raw, which is about a woman that acquires a taste for flesh, which is really interesting.
Another thriller.
Yeah, but not horror movies with throws. Whatever, go fuck yourself. Again,
to be fair, Mr. Hush is what I was thinking of, and that one was lousy. I got him confused because Mr. Hush ripped off the Trick or Treat cover. It was not good. But Hush, though, you're talking about, yeah, that got a lot of acclaim.
Yeah, it's pretty good. If you go to like the horror section of Netflix, what we did last year for Halloween, we just went through like the top rated ones and watched like a couple of the ones from the top rated section, which is including an honorable mention is VHS, which is like a collection of really weird short stories.
Yeah.
That's really interesting
that.
too because it's creative with like it's like stuff you haven't seen before, like going from a haunted house. Well, that one I guess you have, but there's like one where it's these kids filming, and their friend tricked them to bring them out into the woods where there's like this killer, but he's like invisible and he can only be spotted on camera. And what he does is he like fucks with the video, and that's how you could tell where he is. And she brought her friends out as like snacks for this thing so she could try and capture it because it killed her friends before. So that one is just really interesting, but it's just like a vignette of like short stories of like different horror things, and just some of them are just completely confusing and end abruptly, and you're like, what the hell's going on? While other ones are like somewhat fleshed out and you kind of figure out what's going on. It's really interesting stuff. I definitely recommend that. That's also on Netflix. Some really spooky things. Those two are VHS I consider horror because it's more of the
horror.
Unseen. Yeah, that's me. That's all I got. Again, I play more spooky games than I've seen spooky movies.
Spooky. Okay. I'm a huge fan of when it comes to the horror genre. I love a lot of monster flicks, so I'm trying to like not have each one as a monster flick. But that's what I grew up on as a kid because my grandpa would always watch those. I mean, he
Good
watched
old
everything,
Pappy.
but the monster ones were his favorite. Yeah, and as a kid, I watched a lot of these scary movies at a young age, so I had nightmares for like a long time. But I like now that I'm older, I have such an appreciation for them just because of how cool they are. Like I think of it in terms of it being scary, but also cool because of it, whether it's the creature design or just all the effects, and props or whatnot. If so, I'll start with one creature one. And I don't know. There's so many out there, but the one that I definitely I'm scared of seeing it now because it's nighttime. I have to go to bed, and as a kid, it fucked me up a lot. But Shawn and I had talked about this before. But any old werewolf movie really freaked me out. And I'm not talking about like the original 40s Talbot. Wolfman style where he like changes or whatever. But I'm talking like, the creature elongated, all that, like American Werewolf and
the
in
Krenos
London.
werewolf. Yeah.
Yeah. So just a lot of the creature design there. But like that's like the scariest thing, like being out in the woods and having something like that, big, like it's something, 3 times your size and it's all hairy claws, whatnot. The, snarl, growling and howling and just all that. Like, I don't know. As a kid, that really messed me up. Just like, 'cause that's just something. It's big. It's scary. It could be loud and it's ferocious. Like it can kill you instantly.
Tyler, questions about your favorite werewolfs. And so you already said you don't prefer the Hamids. The Hamids are the ones that are like more like wolfmen.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I don't have
it's not that I have a problem with
that, but they're not as scary.
Yeah. So the only other 2 types is the Krenos, which is like half man, half wolf. They walk on 2 legs. They're big, like the Howling and shit like that. Or you've got the American Werewolf in London, which is where they're a large demonic wolf.
On Thor,
Well, Paris did the Krenos thing. They were like a hybrid, but in the first movie, it wasn't a hulking 2-legged thing. In the end, he turned into a large wolf, like the lupine, the lupus wolf. Yep. So do you prefer the large, superpowered demonic wolf, or do you prefer the Krenos one where it's the hulking brute beast?
To be honest, both really. It just depends on the effects, and because the thing is, a lot of them mostly end up looking cheesy, but there are some good ones out there. So I do like the American Werewolf in London, not so much Paris. Some of the Howlings.
Have you seen Dog Soldiers?
Dog Soldiers, yeah. We talked about Dog Soldiers. Probably had one of the better effects. Even also, what was another one? Even some of the Rise of the Vikings, like Underworld. So not the first couple, because they're a lot. It's like a different in a sense, but from Rise of the Vikings, lichens. Sorry, they're a lot more. They're not domesticated. You know, they're ferocious. They're not tamed. They're like these wild animals. So they definitely have like a scary look. You know, the
Well,
lichens.
they were mindless at that time, or they
Yeah,
thought they were
exactly.
mindless.
They're rabid.
Yeah.
Those definitely. Even another good one was Van Helsing. Even though
I
it being more of
hated
an
that
action
movie.
movie, really, what an action flick. But I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna get into just the look of it itself and the transformations too. You know, transformations make up just as much of the movie as anything else. But just seeing that stuff as a kid, that haunted me for years and years. I can't remember. I had countless nightmares. Um, of me not forcing myself to stay awake because I feel like if I go to sleep, I'm gonna have a nightmare. You know.
So if you had to pick one werewolf movie, what would it be?
God. Shoot.
Wolf Cop.
Teenage Werewolf.
Oh God, Wolf Cop was fucking terrible, bad, great.
No, probably maybe Dog Soldiers or one of the earlier Howling movies.
Dog Soldiers was great.
American Werewolf in London, probably the best out of all of them, just because of it's the story is also great. Like it's because a lot of those movies are generally more on the cheesier side, but that was a great story. Also some comedy too, because you know the director, that's the guy who did like the National Lampoon's,
I'll do it.
you know that whole series, whatever. But so like you can hear some of the humor there too. So different, conflicting, kind of like genres in that sense, where it's the horror and some comedy. So they played off pretty well. But so yeah, that's that one. The other two quick ones I would say probably be any modern, like the Conjuring series. Not a whole lot of. I'm not a huge advocate or fan of these newer suspenseful, possession movies or whatever. But something about The Conjuring really got to me, and so they're doing something right with it. Just probably like the music, and it's like a lot of times it's messing around with the kids. Whenever you have some of the kids and something scary, it gets even scarier because they're defenseless. So, and then the third one. So, like I said, the Conjuring series, probably like two. Two is the one that I thought was really good. And for the third one, I'd probably say I'll go with something classic, and we'll go with the slasher movie. But I really love the Halloween series. It just really classic. Like
the first two were excellent.
Yeah, like just the whole low budget, and all you need is a guy in the mask. Simple scenes. You have the chocolate syrup blood. I'm sure that they just use that. They use something different, but just using that as a thing, like for it being, it's such a cheap movie to make production, and you get this masterpiece that spawned this whole series of future slasher films, which aren't all garbage, but it definitely left a mark. See, but it left a mark in history, though. Regardless, you can't say otherwise.
Yeah, it absolutely did. And if it wasn't for Halloween, we wouldn't have had the decent Nightmare on Elm Street. And those are the only other slasher films I can think of that were good. But,
not a fan of Friday the 13th or even Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I hate Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Really? See, the thing, it's you like them or you don't. Yeah, which is fine. I like the more of the original stuff. I don't like too much of the more modern ones. The more gory, more nudity stuff like that. I mean, it's always nice to see another titty here and there, but I don't need to see titties every 5 minutes.
I don't like torture movies. I like it. I mean, I like slasher films, but I like them when they're super creative and colorful, and when the special effects are over the top. If you're going to disembowel somebody, I want to see the Oscar Mayer logo on the intestines.
Yeah, you said that last week.
Look corny. Yeah, I don't like the realistic stuff.
That's one strike, Shawn.
Fun as recycle bag.
But I echo your sentiment. Really liked the first Halloween and the second Halloween, where a lot of it had to do with just the simplicity of Myers' motion, of the sound. I mean, if you think about it, those are set in the 80s. and all the nurses wore hard-soled
How did
shoes.
you?
Everything was based around the sound, so you could always hear people walking, whereas Michael never made any noise. And a lot of those are just little artistic insights that add to the value of those two films. The other ones, but those first two were just amazing.
Also, yeah, it was good because it was just this crazy guy. But like, I hate when they start getting all supernatural. With once they get to that stuff, that's where I usually lose my taste in it. For most slasher films, like I said, also I'm not a huge advocate for supernatural films, but other than like The Conjuring or something like that. But I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's more unsettling than scary. I would say, like not horror, but just unsettling, really, or not even so much disturbing, but just like you get kind of uneasy about it, where it's just like it's a whole to me it's a whole other feeling than being terrified.
Oh yeah, it absolutely is. That's why Japanese horror picked up so big, because a lot of it doesn't focus on the gore; it focuses on the feel.
Yeah. And then, so what about you, Shawn? What you got?
Well, I agree with. I'm totally behind you with Dog Soldiers. You got that one, so I'm not going to mention that one. I was thinking about it. Halloween 1 and 2 you covered, so and the Halloween series in general, so I don't need to mention that. So I will say, I'll pull some out of left field, and I'll go with horror movies that I thought were really fun to watch instead of scared me. One was Trick or Treat, which is another series of vignettes, but they all weave in and out of each other, and it's done asynchronous like Pulp Fiction, so it happens out of order.
I think I've seen that.
And Trick or Treat, yeah, it's so good. Oh my goodness. And it's the perfect Halloween movie because the whole thing's based around Halloween. You actually see the spirit of Halloween, which is this little goblin named Sam.
He looks so fucking stupid when they took off his sack when he was attacking that old guy. He looks so silly.
Yeah. But it's interesting how the movie has this. The important thing about a horror movie is to establish a set of rules, and they establish the rules in the beginning, and you get to see what happens each time one of those rules is broken. So it's really good that way. I really like that, and it told a series of really good stories, and none of them were too long or too short. So that's one. A classic vampire movie that I've never gotten tired of that I really enjoyed was Fright Night, the original with Chris Sarandon and Roddy McDowall.
Is that the one where they're like in the Antarctic and the vampires have like really long nails, or one of them does?
No, that's 30 Days a Night.
No.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah. 30 Days a Night was good, but it's not on the top of my suggestion list.
Yeah.
What I do like about it is it wasn't the new romantic vampire.
God,
it's been popular since Anne Rice.
Let's not please.
It was vampires as monsters, which is really cool. That was good about that. But for vampire movies, I definitely would say Fright Night's at the top of my list just because of how much fun that was. And then for my third movie, I will go, and because I have a preference for supernatural horror movies, but not the Conjuring kind. I will say Session 9. I will say Session 9. And I will say Session 9 because up until the very end of the movie, you get this feeling that it's a psychological horror. And even right before the fucking credits roll, it tells you this is a psychological horror movie up until the credits roll. And then it redefines everything that has happened in that movie, and it makes your skin crawl simply by a couple of sentences heard off of a cassette, off of a recording. I like that one. I liked how it was done. And as an honorable mention, I will say In the Mouth of Madness, because it does tribute to both Stephen King as well as the Cthulhu guy. What's his name?
H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah. It does tribute to Lovecraft because it basically goes into a town that is Lovecraft. So everyone in that town is essentially a monster or a victim of a monster. And the whole thing just twists your mind. It's so well made. But as for the one that I would talk about, I'd probably say Session 9. Session 9 does like The Birds. There's no music. It's all ambient noise. The camera shots are the camera shots are skillfully done. There's a ton of red herrings, and you really don't fully grasp what's happening until near the end of the movie when it's explained to you what's happened, and this dude's madness is played out, and then it starts revealing what has actually been happening to the guys that have been disappearing. And then at the very end of the film, when you think he went crazy and didn't realize, because what happens is he blacks out. And this whole period of time that he was blacked out, he has a set of memories. And those set of memories are everything he was doing when he wasn't doing something else. But at the end of the movie, you think he's crazy. Until you hear the session 9, the 9th recording. Because one of the guys is listening to these recordings every so often in his spare time. He found in an office of this girl who was possessed. Or not possessed, but had multiple personalities, who killed her brother. And she was in this place until it was shut down. And then she was released. And so they're in this place, and this one of the guys, one of the crew who's renovating this hospital, is listening to these tapes. And in each tape, they talk to a new personality. And in the 9th tape, you hear the killer. And all of the other personalities are a grown woman doing different types of voice. But that 9th tape isn't her voice. And then the credits roll.
Huh.
So
it's his voice. Dun dun dun.
It's voice. Yeah. So the whole time he was blacked out murdering his friend.
Oh shit! I was right.
He was possessed by the same thing that she was possessed by. But you don't know that until the credits roll, because the final tape plays, and it flashes back to when the dude was listening to the last tape, and then you hear him say like the creepiest line. He's like, because he says his name is, I think it was Michael or something like that. He has this like simple name.
Michael?
It's like Michael or Sam or some shit like that. But then he's like,
Jason, Freddy.
I live anywhere there is loss or the wounded. And then the credits roll.
Interesting.
And the guy who was the guy who he possessed was having marital problems after his daughter was born. Then this thing possesses him and kills his wife and kid and kills the entire crew. But you don't find that out until the end. It's so fucking good. Which I've blown it for everybody, but fuck it, I don't care. If you even with having heard that, watch the fucking movie. It's just artfully done. It's so and David Caruso's in it, and he's not playing a New York cop. So hey, thumbs up.
Oh man, cool. Well, I don't think we're gonna have time for our spooky stories. I mean, unless you guys are down to record for another. I think what we could also do is just turn it into one story. And we could all improv the story. I don't know. How would we do that?
Torture our listeners.
Yeah. We could do the thing where it's like a shotgun. Every person does one word at a time.
Taste.
We could always do that next. Well, wait a minute. It's Halloween is Tuesday. I mean, we could.
We could do an
We could
after
always do
hours
it as a
on
follow-up
Wednesday.
to Halloween.
We could do an after hours on Wednesday and just do spooky stories for the after hours. Are you guys down for that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Maybe I'm going to listen to a bunch of cry reads.
Okay, well, then Wednesday, that's what we'll do. And I'll see if I can get Caitlyn on, and we'll just have fun with spooky stories. Now, for you all tuning in on the podcast, the After Hours does go to YouTube only now, for now, until I figure out a way, because the thing with After Hours is if we were to do them and upload them, we couldn't get them all on Audioboom as well as the main podcast. So we're going to keep the main podcast on Audioboom for now, and maybe in the future, if we get enough of a want for it, we could make our own After Hours podcast that will be something separate. But for now, they'll stay on YouTube. It's shorter, too. It's only an hour for the After Hours usually, so it's not as much of a commitment for YouTube, so you guys can keep that in mind. So look forward to that on Wednesday. I don't know when it will come out, but so that was episode 25 of the Thought Patrol podcast. The Spook Fest has returned, and it will be out just in time for Halloween. So you all, if you have nothing to do and you want to listen to some sexy voices for 2 hours, well, that's what we're here for. And I hope you all have a fantastic Halloween. I hope you, Shawn, and you too, Tyler, that you guys have a good Spook Fest. And let me get some outros from you two.
Oh yeah, watch out for those ribbed dildos in your trick-or-treat baskets, kids. They're all the rage.
That's the real terror of Halloween.
Mm-hmm. Those extra ribbed for her pleasure.
Oh my god.
Okay.
Hugs and kisses and all your pink parts.
All right. And before we head off, I will leave you with a thought. But
there we go. I kept it to 2.
I was wondering where when you guys were talking, I remembered it. And I'm like, wait,
So
there's
she's
no
got
jump scares.
Halloween Tourette's.
So before we sign off, I'll leave you with a thought. Butterflies taste with their hind feet.